Previously on AFTN.
When I was in Scotland, I worked in bank and I was a bank manager. So I went to this new branch. There was a woman there that had been there for 25 or 30 years. Everyone loved her. She was so nice. I did her first performance appraisal and had in floods of tears because I basically told her, "You're not very good." I thought her like, "You made Anne cry. No one, why could you do that?" Honesty. I'm all for honesty. She retired soon after that. It was the best thing for her. She wasn't cut up for the job. Well, hello again, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show. If you're listening to this show on the podcast, this is episode 309. We're live here at the CITR studios, 101.9 FM. Packed show we have ahead for you this week. So we've got a packed group of people in to chat about it. I'm Michael McCall.
I'm Steve Pander.
I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhower.
And I'm Joe Deasy.
Yes! We've got Joe back on the show. Glad to have him back, because we need him, because he's the young one amongst us. He's got the fresh memories and he can remember stuff. We're going to look over some of our AFTN awards tonight. We're going to do something we've wanted to do for a couple of weeks, which is delve through all the other teams' MLS rosters, try and work out which players we can poach, which ones we would like to poach and definitely can't afford, and we've got a lot of suggestions from you, the listeners, as well, so that should be good. We're also going to sit down with Brett Levis for a long chat with Brett just about the season he's had, his career path up to now, the cramping issues that he's had, and what the future may lie in store for him and football in Saskatchewan. All this and a lot more besides, but we're going to kick things off with our AFTN Awards. I feel I've been transported to Hollywood. There's girls with their Golden Globes ready to be handed out. We need to get little statues.
We should.
Mm-hmm. What would they be of?
Goal line clearances. I thought of the best thing about football. That's what it is.
We could call them the bobbies.
The bubble.
Hand our bobbies out. No one did look up what that meant in Scottish slang, did you?
No.
Okay. Right. So it's been a quiet few weeks. Well, no, it's been a busy few weeks, but it's been a quiet week, at least, in Whitecapsland. So that lets us kind of discuss some of our awards. We're going to have our full awards out on the site over in the next couple of weeks. I think we have something like 20 different awards, but in the first part of the show tonight, we just wanted to chat about some of them. Got a lot of suggestions from listeners as well. Some of them might be kind of obvious. Some of them, hopefully, we'll get a bit of debate. Have to kick it off with our Whitecaps Player of the Year. This may be a quick one. Is it inevitable?
As long as is it sponsored by a beer company?
No.
Okay.
We're sponsored. Okay. We're going to be sponsored by Iron Brew, so I think that's good.
Yeah.
Maybe not for under fives, but
the Canada Dry Player.
Yes, let's go for Canada
Super Socko.
Dry.
I like Super Socko. You guys, you know what?
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
I've seen it in my NASL Kick magazines.
I drank it.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Did they not bring it back a couple of years ago?
They tried to. They tried to apparently, and it didn't work or something.
Whitecaps Player of the Year. Let's kick things off with that. Is it inevitable that it's Fonzie? Is there any other nominations?
Yeah, let's move on to the next.
But he's not a Whitecaps player anymore.
No, but for
for this year,
2018,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, there's the three players I would mention are Alfonso, obviously as the winner. I think a close second is Kai Kamara, and for me, a third would be Kendall Waston.
he wasn't here for most of the year.
I honestly, I normally would pin Kendall Waston up there, but I can't give it to any defender or goalkeeper this year.
That's a very good
Yes.
point. Jordi Reyna is like a
I would give it to him more.
1%
Yeah.
chance of winning kind of
Sean
guy.
Melvin had the best clean sheet record of all the Whitecaps goalkeepers. He must be in with that.
Are you counting the Youngsters game?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
Kendall should be there just for his goal scoring abilities.
And with Costa Rica,
Yeah.
maybe not for the Whitecaps. I'm sure we'll come to that. Did he get 4 this year?
3, yeah.
3.
Oh, if you had 4, then I would put him in.
I actually had Kai Kamara ahead of Fonzie going into the last couple of weeks of the season, just because I just thought he had done well. His goals carried us through. Obviously, Fonzie got some goals, got some assists as well. But I think Fonzie finished with a bang, and for me, I think that did push him over.
Yeah, I think so too. And when we were doing the ratings of players, which we will try to get to reset next year.
Yeah, you just gave up on that.
Yeah, no, it basically was because of the World Cup. I just afterwards it was hard to get into, and there was a couple weeks I couldn't do it, and that basically lost it. But I'm going to try to do it where people wanted to rate the players from 1 to 10. I'm going to try to do it where I could do it that way. That way, it works better. It's just a matter of seeing.
I think the problem with it was you didn't have any negative chance ratings this year.
Yeah, that's the problem.
You should set a line, and everyone under that line is just negative.
Yeah, exactly.
And depending on how the score is, it would go up and down.
But I agree. Player of the year for me is Alfonso Davies.
Kai Kamara is an interesting shout, just to make it interesting, because Alfonso Davies was so far and away the best player on that team. But he did have 14 goals and 5 assists.
Yeah.
If you said at the start of the season, I think I was happy for anything more than 10 from him, really.
Well, I had him down as the Golden Boot winner in all of MLS, but then I also had us on a big run to the
You didn't
Cup
factor
final.
in how many penalties Atlanta United get, though.
I didn't factor in our defence either.
That's that's true. But yeah,
But the penalties that Atlanta just get for, hey, that guy breathed on someone in the box,
exactly.
penalty.
Yeah, but I think the reason why Kamara looks like to finish the season strong was because at that point, any player that cared just stood out like a sore thumb. So he really did give a good impression.
Kamara also missed quite a few games this year with his groin injuries as well.
Yeah.
And they rested him a little bit.
Yes.
Right.
From time to time,
Yeah. To keep him at a high level.
fresh.
Well, if we give that to Fonzie, let's not give Fonzie Young Player of the Year, because that's just too much.
Then there are no other options.
No, there is.
there has to be.
Because we're going to include residency, right?
Well, no, because I've got a separate residency Player of the Year.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
So, yes, maybe it does. We've only done this since 2012, Steve.
Yeah, good point.
But if young player means under 25,
Yeah,
which means
we extended it to that last year
Yeah.
so we could give it to Jake Nerwinski.
there are 3, maybe 4 players that are under 25 on the Whitecaps roster. As we discovered today, Breck Shea is the same age as Eric Hurtado, which is mind-blowing. But
Yes, he's just too old for this award.
well, Eric Hurtado is just a young prospect on the roster that's good for the salary cap.
he's going to come good one
yeah,
year.
exactly. Just got to give him minutes.
Can we include games outside the Whitecaps? Like not playing for the Whitecaps, but still as Whitecaps, like maybe on
Mbappe?
loan?
Is that who you're thinking of?
On loan. I'm talking about on
on
loan.
loan,
Players
yeah.
on loan. So then I would give it to David Norman.
Oh, Spencer Ritchie, I would.
Oh,
no,
yes.
actually,
No,
Jake
he's over.
Nerwinski still
He's
counts as a young
25.
player too.
He's 25.
yeah,
Ritchie's.
he's borderline.
Nerwinski's 24, so
Oh, then
he's my
if we're
choice.
are we doing it under 25?
Yeah,
Then
let's
Jake
do
Nerwinski.
25.
So this
on.
obviously points to one of the problems.
Yes.
Right? The fact that you have to make the Young Player of the Year award up to 25 or 24 years old is ridiculous in the footballing world.
I think also Nerwinski kind of won it by default last year. So
Yeah. Joe is still eligible for this award.
Oh.
well, I'm 25, but yeah.
Yeah, so
Close.
he is. He's half our ages.
So we're gonna give it to Jake. I think I agree with Jake. If
I'll
you're
accept the
doing
award if it's still
25,
available. At this point,
I think we are going to have to give it to.
Yeah.
How old is Brett Levi's now?
oh,
I think he's 25.
but I think Jacob
He's
performed
25.
him even if he was.
Jay only got 1 assist all year, no goals,
But I think his play was pretty.
and he was
good.
on a defence.
And he was actually. Yeah, that's
You went
true.
full 90 more games?
Yeah, we are struggling here.
Okay, let's just skip it then for
How
now. We'll
old's
come
Russell
back.
Tybert now?
How about David? How about we give it to David Norman because of his work in the Queen of the South?
Yeah, he's got dropped at the weekend.
But what makes Nerwinski a bad candidate for this? But the fact
I
that he
think
was
it's-
part of the worst defense in the league, probably.
Yeah, just because he only got 1 assist.
Yeah, but he worked on his defensive game a lot this year.
I'm going with Russell Tybert.
He's
He's not a
way
young
old.
player.
not a young player, Michael. Come on.
Right, I'm googling. How old is Russell Tybert?
He's 25.
26.
Well, there we go. He's 25 now.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought Russell was like 21, 22.
You know, it was.
I'm stuck in a kind
Well,
of
I
time.
think Eric Hurtado needs to be the reference point.
Well,
Right.
maybe
So
we
he's
could-
3 years younger than Eric Hurtado.
Maybe we could just vacant this year.
Oh, yeah. An asterisk.
Let's vote vacant.
Yeah.
That
Well-
sounds fair.
We'll put missing in brackets lighter defense.
How about Simon Colin just for the
I thought
excitement
Simon
of the,
Colin,
at,
'cause
the
he
end
had-
at the end of the year?
Well, he almost didn't put a foot wrong. But
it is one appearance.
we should make up a player like they do on Football Manager and just
Oh.
assign it to that guy instead.
Oh, our African signing, Maboza Ritchie.
Can I ask what kind?
Is he regular?
What kind? He's a regular. He was a regular in the lineup anyway. Right, let's move on.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah. Oh, I would just want to say residency because I don't think we're going to talk about residency players
No.
here. But I wanted to put out. I think Baldissimo, Matthew Baldissimo, probably is up there. Michael,
You
sorry,
always-
I did it. I always do
Matthew's the guy that's been in
that.
Fresno.
Yes. And then, but the one that's actually quite exciting and could be signed next year is Cameron.
I knew.
I had it written down here.
As soon as he started saying
I
this,
forgot
I'm
the
like-
name. I just forgot the name.
Oh.
Cameron Habibullah.
Yes.
That
One
guy.
of two brothers.
That guy actually could be signed. He's only. I think he just turned 15 this year,
Yep.
and he could be signed next year at some time.
I'm thinking I'll probably give that one to Theo Baer, just because of his outstanding
Goal scoring record
goal
for
scoring
sure.
in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
I can understand
but
that.
Jose Hernandez had a good season as well.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
it has to be Theo Bear.
Habib Bala had a good second half of the season because he broke into the
He was on the
under-17s.
U17s as
Yeah.
a 14-year-old.
Yes.
So
But he is one that's definitely going to be one to watch in the future, which brings us on to who do you feel, and we'll just look at first team, signed or potential signed. Who's your Whitecap to watch next year?
So again, the list is short, right?
Yes.
There's 4 people on the list, right? Basically.
if you have other, those are just suggestions.
No.
Oh yeah, they.
Oh no. Yeah,
that was just-
David, Theo, Baldy, and Simon.
Yes.
Those are the 4.
By Baldy, we don't mean David Baldwin because we don't think he's going to be involved next year to watch.
For me, I'll start
Interesting to
off.
watch
I
if he
think
is.
I think with the way Marc Dos Santos set up, the way he wants to play and everything like that, a guy that really can excel in that if he keeps his finishing ability up is Theo Baer. I think he could be the guy that could really whether I know they have him targeted as number 9, but he could play the wing very easily.
Yes.
Especially if they play that tight 3 at the front, because he could play on either wing and be like right inside the box. Or
I
rather up there.
don't see him getting a lot of minutes, and I could see him loaned out to CPL.
Yeah, possible, but I'm saying if he
Just as long as it's not Fresno.
he could impress in the training camp, and they could want him
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Well,
What about you guys? Who's your Whitecap to watch?
Yeah, for me, my first choice and my ideal one, who I hope will do the best of these, obviously, is David Norman.
Yeah, but it's hard to watch those Queen of the South games.
Yeah, no, but here.
I think he'll stay
here
with
next
them.
year.
I think he'll
You'll
stay with them
them
for the rest of the
to the
season.
end of May.
Yep, he's really impressed.
But
And
he's technically his loan deal is to January, isn't
yes,
it?
well, to the end of December.
End of December.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hope that. I have a soft spot in my heart for David. So yeah, I hope he'll be able to make a breakthrough, for Vancouver, because that's what he longs for. Like,
Oh yeah,
when I know a lot of people in the last few weeks have talked about, your desire to play for the club or whatever, and no one has it stronger. Literally, no one has it stronger than David Norman.
He's had a taste of Scotland now, though.
Yeah, but the Scottish Championship
He got to visit Bayview. He
Oh.
got to see his Fife's home.
I think he's been in Scotland before.
and on hallowed ground he has
Yeah.
been.
He didn't play, but he
Yeah.
got to sit on the bench.
I agree with Zach there. David Norman is the one. Like, it's such a key position that the Whitecaps have lacked, is kind of that dynamic midfielder who can connect attack to defense. We haven't really had someone since pre-tantrum Pedro Morales to do that. So yeah, and as a young player with ties to the club, we've been waiting for him to come through. He had I think 1 game this season in the Canadian Championship
Yes.
he played, and I liked what I saw, but it was evident that he needed to work on some aspects of his game to operate at this quite high level.
Yeah.
But
Well,
then there's a fear that if he does too well in the Scottish Championship, like the Scottish Premier League is better than the MLS, I would say, as far as reputation goes. There's a chance to play in Europe if you know, get looked at by one of those good big 3 teams or 4 teams, however many you want to.
You're going to get noticed more. There's going to be more opportunities for
absolutely.
sure.
There's more English scouts. Like Newcastle have an extensive scouting network up in Scotland. Like you get picked up there.
Well, but he's
if he loves
sort of
the
guy
club,
to Tottenham once, so it's like things happen.
Oh, Whitecaps sold a guy to Bayern Munich once too, I guess.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
First of many. Part of me wants to go with David. Part of me wants to go with Baldissimo. I just don't think either of them's going to get a lot of games. So I'm actually going to go with Simon Colline, just because folk are so high on him and because he made his debut, I think they're going to want to try and expose him more and just show more of him. So I think he's the one that's going to get more.
So you're
minutes.
saying the front office is going to tell Dos Santos he has to play him more because of that?
But I think that will be the feeling at the club, that he's the guy that you want to showcase.
I feel like Dos Santos will see some of these young players and know that he can do some stuff with them.
Yeah. But if it wasn't Colline, I would actually pick Baldissimo, I think. So let's rattle through a few more. Game of the season. Now, for me, maybe biased because I was at it, was the 2-1 win down in Portland. So unexpected. I almost didn't go to the game even though I booked my trip down there because I thought, this is going to be crap. I'm just going to stay by the coast. But it's like, no, go to the game. And then it gave you hope that the playoffs were going to be reached. Then they screwed up. But for me, that was probably
Give you hope.
a fighting performance against the odds.
Give you hope for the Cascadia Cup as well.
I had no interest by that point.
That is on my list for sure. It's high up there. Probably it is the number one on my list. Yeah, it's the number one away game of the year. Well, sorry, it's the number one away game of the year outside of the Las Vegas Lights preseason game. That was the second.
We didn't get a llama though. If we'd got a llama, I would have felt that deserved the win.
Or
One of the llamas,
or money thrown from a helicopter. Too.
one of the llamas got a suspension for doing something bad on the pitch
Really?
later in the season. It was fantastic. They're the best Twitter account to follow in football.
Not quite the same now that they lost the crazy guy.
Home matches for me, like.
Were there any good ones apart from that last one?
No, there were. I really, for an entertainment standpoint, I think Minnesota,
Yeah,
was very fun to watch.
Minnesota, Orlando.
San Jose game, they scored quite a bit too, I think.
The San Jose, I thought it was 2-1, but the San Jose one was meaningful. That was the day we celebrated Kai Kamara's birthday, so that was kind of fun. The Orlando was the 5-2. It was a crazy game. And then the other one for me at home, it was important, was the V's Cup win against Montreal.
The Orlando game was fantastic because Will Johnson could see retirement approaching him as Davies was breaking down that.
Except he's got a new contract next year.
Except for, you saw that, right?
I did not see that.
No,
it's
Breck Shea too.
Shea.
Yeah, he got his contract triggered by minutes.
That's the word. That's the word on the street.
It's like a Breck Shea, but that's
Well,
Orlando again.
I know.
Reported by
God.
it was a reporter that put it out there.
They
It's not
haven't
just
said
a
who
word
the
on the
No,
street.
yeah, they
haven't-
never said.
They haven't
I saw
said who the
that.
player
Yes.
was, but everyone's speculating it as
Oh
Will
my
Johnson because he made
goodness.
26 appearances.
I thought I could not feel worse for Orlando, and I was wrong.
Yeah.
That is scary. Game for me. Orlando 5-2 was fantastic because that was Davies.
That was entertaining.
Yeah. Like it was so evident what the Whitecaps game plan was after around 5 minutes.
Yes.
because
That was the individual performance
Yeah.
of the year, was him in that game for
there was
sure.
that red card that really just opened up the second half, and then Mosqueda finished off the scoring. It was just a positive result.
Yeah.
But the one for me is, and it is because I have ties to Toronto, because my wife is from there.
Yeah.
The 2-1 win at Toronto was
That was
fantastic.
that was
yeah,
really
that was
good,
another unexpected
Just
one as well.
satisfying.
I was on holiday in
Yes,
Oregon
sir.
again for that one. I should just go to Oregon all the time. We'll win.
Yeah,
I-
I should move.
I like the Minnesota one too because a lot of Germans were watching at that time too because that was just after the sale
Yeah.
of Alphonso Davies.
2 goals
Oh.
he had, right?
Yeah, 2 goals.
Yeah.
Now, goal of the season, I guess we have to go back to Fonzie again. This is like the Alphonso Davies Awards.
Yeah, I had
But
his goal
he
against
scored
Minnesota.
most of the good ones too. Like for me, I'll start it off. Same game I was mentioned before, Minnesota. The first one was I found was the better one. The one that actually Michael Boxall was undressed for. He essentially brought it over to his right side, got through and took a nice shot. That was the one for me, and it was in a win, unlike the other DC one.
Yeah, so those were the two for me.
Yeah.
It was the home one was the first goal against Minnesota, and then the other one that was phenomenal was DC away, which you're right was a consolation goal.
It's
But
the DC one that I've got, and I do feel
yeah.
the same as you, Zach, because it was like it
technique
meant
was
nothing.
The
incredible.
technique was, I agree with that, but it just because my tiebreaker was because it was a win.
Yeah,
It was also his last goal before getting signed.
Yes.
I liked the DC one as well because he went past 3 players twice. The same 3 players went past them, turned back, went past them again. That's fun, and it was a lovely strike.
That's a nice couple bookends, eh? Your 2 best goals are before you signed and after you signed.
Yeah, but the thing about a lot of Davies' contributions to the game is that his assists are sometimes more spectacular than goals he scores.
Yeah.
Finishing is definitely a part of the game that he can work on, but like his cutbacks that Kai Kamara probably got 5 or 6
He could have had
goals.
so many more
Yeah.
as well. The amount that
The problem
was
is people
missed.
couldn't keep up with his runs.
Yeah.
That's-
Excuse us, Joe. There's no assist of the year award here on our. Maybe we should add
No,
that.
although-
We can call it the Joe Deasy.
Whitecap Scarf wanted us to add red card of the year.
There's 2
Juarez.
The double red cards, Reina and Juarez.
Oh, at the
But
Sporting.
you've got to share it with the top off. That was his vote. I have Juarez.
Well, I have Juarez in Seattle.
Yeah.
See, I thought hands down Juarez, but it's put more hands up. But yeah, there's a lot to pick from. That could be a whole segment that we just talk about our red cards.
Yeah.
Let's hope we don't need to bring that in as a regular award.
We really should add like helper of the year or like assist of the year. Should be on there. No,
We've never done it before.
that's what I'm saying. It should
Well,
probably.
we'll
be on.
think about it. Because we're going to run out of time in this segment anyway.
We're almost out.
Let's see if we score any goals next season first.
Save of
before
the
we do
season.
Yes, save of the season.
For me, it was Marinovic, again, obviously, against the Red Bulls.
Yeah,
the
tipped it onto
save,
the
the tip,
crossbar.
the way he was diving in the air in one way, and he got his hand on it, and
That was mine as well.
and it
so I
was
couldn't
kind
think
of an
any
assist
others.
to Kendall Waston on that one, because if Kendall Waston hadn't smothered it at the goal line, that wouldn't really matter, that save.
There was one more that I thought of. It was NYCFC away, and Burgett knocked it down in the first 5 minutes, and Marinovic kind of smothered it off the line, and then they scrambled it away. But it was point blank. It was kind of similar to the New York Red Bulls one, but he didn't tip it up. He kind of pushed it down instead.
The only thing about the Red Bulls one is, yeah, it was a great stop, but the ball kept in trouble. Eventually it was cleared. It's like I like a save that takes it away from danger.
Yeah, but he had
complete.
because he was actually going the opposite way
Yeah.
and got his hand. If he hadn't done that, it would have gone in. There was no chance.
What
there.
about the save against Valeri on the free kick in Portland? Was that mentioned already? No. The free
I
kick
need
at the
to
very
start
end.
writing
and
these down as the season goes on. 'cause
That's
it comes
too
to
much
now
work.
and it's like,
There's too much relief when he
Yeah.
makes a save to write anything down.
yeah. No Brian Rowe saves spring to mind?
In the last 12 months, the Marinovic one that also jumps out, might be just over 12 months, was a save, not in a Whitecaps game, but that save he made against Peru, that one clawing back off the line.
Brian Rowe did have a big save in one of his last 2 games. I remember that because it was just after when I said he's not very athletic. He's not the athletic type
Yes.
goalkeeper. In the next game,
Yeah,
he
he
made a
did.
big save. Yeah.
Brian Rowe also saves on the salary budget a little bit as well.
So the opposite of a goal of the year. How about miss of the year?
Yeah, let's have this as our maybe our last one. So miss of the year, also known as the Breck Shea Memorial Trophy. There's Breck Shea
Yeah.
against Houston.
Yeah.
That's mine. Definitely.
I do think he had another one as well, possibly against Minnesota.
There's no question he had another.
No, but this one cost him points because if they had made that, I think they
Yeah.
would have won the game. And
yeah, that was a 2-2.
and this is the
finish.
one. This is the one that I totally remember that the American media just had a field day with it because they were
Yeah.
just essentially saying they were saying this is the reason why American soccer is so bad because this can't be missed on an easy shot like that.
I'll tell you who had a field day with it. The 12 guys I brought to the Whitecaps game to show them that it's actually kind of not a bad level. I still haven't heard the end of that from them.
Did they ever go back to another game?
No. Nick was one of them, so he might come. He may or may not come back to another game. But yeah, AFTN writer Nick Ruprecht.
You're all dead wrong. That was Breck Shea's gaffe was not the miss of the year. The miss of the year is obviously the one that impacted the year the most. Holistically.
playoffs.
No, the whole holistic. That's a good one. Holistically is Greg Anderson messing up Breck Shea's contract. Not knowing the clause.
But that happened in 2017.
Yeah, but it was
technically
it
you can't win.
But it was something that
I got Jay's Greg.
but something that something that impacted 2018 probably more than anything. $750 and $45,000 designated player mistake.
One we missed on Save of the Year, I do believe they changed their paperclip supplier, and they have saved some money on that.
Well, there was a thing a few years ago that if a government changes the font that they use, they can save like almost $1 million a year or something like that. So maybe the Whitecaps could look into that for another Save of the Year.
There was another bad miss, which we should talk about, which was a couple of weeks, maybe 1 game, 2 games after, which was Kai Kamara had a horrible miss against New England. That was another game that finished in a draw. Those misses, 2 games, could have been 2 wins, 4 points, playoffs, Queen has balls, she's the king.
Breck Shea is a designated player on $745,000. Is
Kai
a bigger
Kamara is
miss.
basically a designated player.
No, but but they wanted him here. The Breck Shea is the biggest miss of the year.
Was it 3 yards in front of an open goal? Is kind of the bar
It was
that's been
pretty
set.
bad. I couldn't
but
find
the ball
the
came
replay
across
of it.
the
I just
ground.
remember it and I couldn't find
Like,
it.
yeah, I can't get over the shame. It's kind of burned into my head, like where I was, what I was looking at, where he was standing, how he did not kick the ball properly.
I watched it again tonight. I had to struggle to find it again. You see it and it's like, oh.
I don't have the heart.
Fonzie plays the ball in and he just takes a heavy touch and then he's like, oh.
Yeah.
That's what I think went through his head. Then a couple of weeks later, he got that horrific haircut with dreadlocks.
That's a miss of the year.
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah.
That could be in our haircut of the year. But anyway, that is it for part 1. We've got other awards that we might talk about in future weeks as well. But we'll be back and talking about how Marc Dos Santos can build an empire after this.
Hi, I'm Marc Dos Santos, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
So we've been doing this for time, trying to build an empire, moving how we move, but see we always give you fire. We're the dons, the senseis, the captains and the masters, the presidents and more, because we give you what we have to. And we've done this, done it for time. Dive up on the mic, I'll come with a round here, veterans, mountains climb, try new shit, got a sound you like to begin. Heard nothing, drums in the pockets, writing on Joe's young cub topics, but I'm raping it now, just honest. Get in the booth and I kill it, be honest. I'm a demon in this and I built it, sat with the boys and me plan no limits. Got a rep that you want to be given, I work for this mate, you'll hear if you listen. I'm an artist and I live it, writing my life but I'm giving you snippets. And I do it, you sit and you mimic, daily tea, then I kill it with villain. What?
Mad Hat McGore there, Zach's favourite. Did you think that sounded like the other two?
A bit.
No, that was different. I'll give it to you.
Just found out you got a new album out.
That's
last
why
month.
I said a bit, Steve.
Yeah.
So, whole new album of stuff I've got to bring of his.
People, I'm sure, are just so excited.
Yeah, I am. Anyway, you are listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio. We had our interview with Marc Dos Santos last week. Went down very well. Had a lot of good feedback from various people, including media members, as to how good an interview it was and how excited they are by what Dos Santos said. So he talked a lot about how he wants his teams to play, how he wants to build his team. So we thought we'd have a little bit of fun in the next 2 parts, and we're going to try and have our dream team, of which MLS players, realistic. So let's not just.
It's hard to when you say
for
dream
Zlatan
team. When you say it's
Ibrahimovic.
dream and then you say realistic, like
Yeah.
it's got to be
Okay.
one or the other.
And you added MLS.
Yeah,
I'll drop the word dream.
yeah. Drop
Well, you say the word dream and you see an outline of David Villa, and then you say realistic and it's actually Eric Hurtado or something like that.
Well, my MLS dream team is just all Johnny Russell. That's
can
a
imagine
different
that.
dream
Man
altogether.
for all seasons.
Yeah, who I don't have in my dream team 11 because I saw he was on 1.3 million, and I was like, yeah, it's not going to happen.
Are we supposed to take salary and stuff into account? Because
I think so.
A little bit,
This is the Vancouver Whitecaps show.
but we've got money now. We
Yeah.
can go for a blockbuster trade.
well, we don't have money, but
No,
the Whitecaps.
AFTN has not been given any GAM that we know of.
We weren't part of the Davies deal, were we?
Possibly,
No.
Solidarity payments.
yes, because we have watched him since he was young. Salary can get taken into account. With salary, I feel we do have the GAM, the TAM, the Wham Bam, thank you ma'am, to do one blockbuster MLS trade. So I think we could get away with one big Don
Big
Dwyer
acquisition.
type
Yeah.
trade.
But you still have to consider the salary that the player is on or would be on.
Yes,
That's
because a lot of the salaries now are obviously going to be even higher.
Yeah.
So we got a lot of good suggestions from people on Twitter. So we'll go over ours, we'll go over what they suggested as well. So we'll kick things off with goalkeepers. Now, obviously, we've got Stefan Marinovic. I still think he'll be back.
I think he stays.
I think he's got a better chance of coming back now with how Marc Dos Santos...
I think he stays one more year.
If he stays...
At least for 6 months until the summer.
See, if he stays, then we're not looking at getting a starter in, which kind of... You're looking at a backup.
You're also assuming that they're taking Marinovic's option.
Yes, and you've got Spencer Ritchie as well, who's not going to want to come back to play second fiddle to Marinovic. He told us that a couple of weeks ago. So that would open up maybe bringing in a backup keeper or someone to challenge Marinovic.
Yeah, you can approach it two ways, right? You bring in someone better than who we have, or we bring in a backup, right?
Yes.
And
I always think if you're bringing someone in, it has to be better than
Yes.
what you've got.
And as far as a goalie goes, you look at the person that you're bringing in as well, right? They can't be like the best player on that team, or else they'll never let them go.
No,
Yes.
exactly.
Who is a player that has been elbowed out of the starting lineup?
Yeah.
Who is a goalkeeper in MLS?
Who showed promise earlier?
David Ousted.
Yes!
That's my goalie
I've
pick.
heard of him. He's a up and coming talent.
What about David Osted?
Either
I think they're related.
tomato.
Yeah. But yeah, why not? Bill Hamid came in a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Management has moved on. New leaf at the Whitecaps.
Yeah, unfortunately though, the Whitecaps management has not moved on, and I don't think they would welcome him back. But I did think of him.
If they were looking for a goalie,
Yeah.
and you
What
wanted
if
to
they
trade
hire?
for a
What if they
goalie?
rehire Marius Roda as their coach? Goalie coach, and then he really brings him back.
That would be funny.
Hey, look, there's a pig. It's flying.
I was looking over the keepers in MLS. One of the things that stood out to me was how undesirable most of them are.
Yes.
Mostly, like some of the ones who have been quality over the years, mostly due to age and salary. I did not find people that I think are fit here. Spencer, to me, what they do with Stefan and Spencer, that's like that'll answer kind of what type of keeper they're obviously looking for.
Yes.
and obviously Sean as well. But for me, the only two that I thought maybe, and one is I think on the unrealistic end, and one is on the potentially underwhelming end, is it's a choice between, and I'm not doing this just for the namesake, but it's a choice between two Zachs. Zach Steffen from Columbus, who I think might even go to Europe, or he is going to Europe or whatever. So Zach Steffen, and to me, he's not a complete keeper either, but in terms of MLS standard, I think
He knocked out Atlanta last
he's pretty good. The other one is Zach McMath, who again,
yeah, I had him on my list.
it's a bit of a roll of the dice, but and you in one sense you think he'll probably want to stay in Colorado, hoping that Tim Howard is going to retire. I think it's after this year or whatever.
Or cross the line.
Okay,
He's crossed the line before.
and so you might think he might want to stay there because it's
safe.
yeah, and it's easy to go.
Yeah.
He could play a big role there and not have to worry about breaking in and doing whatever. But those are the only two that really I thought maybe one of them could.
I had McMath on my list. I also one guy that I think he's Portland's backup right now. Steve Clark. He used to be Columbus Crew's keeper.
He's awful.
No,
he
had a couple of good years with Columbus.
His celebration,
he got knocked out of Stefan.
His celebration where he takes a dump in the corner in front of the Nordecki. That is
Okay.
like all you. That's all you need. Like that's a symbol of his play.
Okay. So Steve Clark, I think, would be a good option as a backup who can, if Marinovic again goes down with an injury, can come in and do a decent job.
Yeah, we take into account Marinovic's strong points are shot stopping. Dos Santos, the way he wants to play, is it going to be a similar type of goalie? I can't really think of goalies in the MLS that have good distribution. I don't know. Stefan's going the wrong way if he comes to Whitecaps, I think. I don't think he ever wants to come back.
No.
Go to another MLS team. He's going to Europe, I think, for sure.
We had some suggestions on Twitter. Beau Chevalier said Sean Johnson from NYC.
They're
Now,
not giving
he's
him
on a
up.
guaranteed $250.
No.
They're not giving him up.
starter, so he's
They're not giving him up.
Marinovic is on 162.5 as well, so he's on quite a low salary.
Sean John is not that great.
And he's not coming because he is a decent keeper there.
Yeah, and he's on a marketable team versus
Remember-
an unmarketable team.
MLS teams do not want to spend an international spot on a keeper, and they don't want to spend over 250, 300,000 on a keeper.
Yeah.
So don't.
Well, yeah, because like Drayton
Unless you're
Van
Tim
Ays
Howard.
suggested Tim Melia. for
That's
KC,
never.
but he's
They're
like
never giving him up.
3.7.
There's very few goalies that are better fits.
A lot of the
than
players that
Tim Melia.
we're more likely to get are going to be from Eastern teams. But and talking of Eastern teams, the number one suggestion: Glass City, Caleb Wilkins, Thomas Brown, Chris Harrott, Peter Hickens, Whitecap Scarf, and myself, Maxime Kropel.
Again, they're not going to give him up.
But he's just away Ottawa Fury for the year.
Yeah, but on loan.
Yeah.
So
Guaranteed 84,000. He spent this year with Ottawa Fury, but he did win goalkeeper of the year. MDS will have likely worked with him when he was in the academy, so he will have seen him, so there may be something there. He signed a homegrown deal in 2013. He's only played 3 MLS games. He did lose all 3. Evan Bush played all 34 for Montreal, so I guess it's whether they want to stick with Bush and then is it Krepo?
Kripo.
Krepo then might think, well, I want to be a
Max.
starter. And if he wants to be a starter and we can offer him the chance to be a starter, that could tempt him.
Yeah, it's sort of like a logical one, but I'm with Steve. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't
They're
think
not giving
Montreal's
him
going to get rid of him for nothing.
And would he come in and be a starter right away too? Right.
Well, if Marinovic doesn't come back, I'd like 2 keepers that's going to really battle it out.
The other thing you were talking about, Tim Melia, I looked at him too, but he's like 32. Like he's not
Yeah.
young. I
But
thought he was like really
We
young.
do need some experience in the team.
But
And then-
goalkeepers go till they're 35, 36, 37.
Oh no,
easy.
I know, but
Yeah.
yeah, he just
But
feels a little bit old.
You want a battle, which then also brings you possibly to right back. So you had Sean Franklin as your old veteran this year, battling Nerwinski. Can't see Franklin being back.
No. And I think
Nerwinski will
Nowitzki's
be
established himself, especially if they play a wing
He
back
has,
system.
but he needs challenged.
We maybe talked about this in the past. Why do you not see Franklin back? Is it the age? Is it the wage? What is it?
No, just I think they need a younger. I mean,
Similar age.
a younger guy maybe, but someone that can really challenge Jake.
Justin Fittest type.
I think I think the writing was on the wall for Franklin towards the end of the season when Nerwinski was the automatic choice at that
Yeah.
position. Like when the season started, it was more of a battle. Then as the season went on, it was clear who won that battle.
Because we know Dos Santos is going to want his wingers to go forward and be able to get back. So Nerwinski can at least do that.
See, this is another position where teams do not want to spend international spots. Most teams, and they don't want to spend too much money on fullbacks either. It's a weird position again that people want great play from a fullback, but they don't want to pay for it.
But if Franklin doesn't come back, we will need a backup, and that's
For
a
sure,
very
yeah.
good point. The only person I could think of in the MLS that I would want to come in that could possibly start above Nerwinski, and I know this is an unrealistic shout, but it's the only guy I could think of, was Harrison Afoul. For
Yeah,
Columbus.
that's
Yeah,
another
We
top.
have had enough awful right backs at the Whitecaps.
I was taking
in the MLS
I was
era.
taking more of a 2 negatives make a positive kind of a approach for this one.
But I looked at him too. He also is not young. He's like, is it 32?
He's also on 364,000.
That's the other
So
part.
that's like, whoa.
For me, I didn't check this guy's salary, but I'm going to mess up his name now. SAS, who has played some right back. He from Kansas City. He's now at Man City Light there.
Abdul Salam.
Yeah, Abdul Salam. Yeah, again, not like those keepers I mentioned. Not like great wish list kind of player,
Yeah.
but someone who could be who could contribute. Of course, Portland would love it if he came here because he is, of course, the double post man. But
Some of the suggestions we got were unrealistic just because of salary. So, like Drayton Van Ays said, Harrison Afoul as well.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt. Abdul Salam, 120,000 salary.
Oh, that's not a bad
He would
salary.
be a great
yeah.
pickup.
and he's like I think 27. So he's not old, but he's the Whitecap's young.
But like we had Jordan Harvey when he was
He'd be eligible for next
when he
year's
was
award.
older. Like a bit of experience in a key position isn't necessarily bad, especially with Nerwinski as backup.
Right, and he's younger than Eric Hurtado and Breck Shea, as you were. Yeah,
Peter Hickens suggested Ronald Matarrita from New York City.
Yes, but I don't know
High
if he
salary.
would make that
395.
move.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. Thomas Brown suggested an even more expensive guy, Adam Lundqvist,
433. Yeah.
Now, to pay that for a right back to me seems very in an MLS league.
Yeah.
Just
When
seems
you have
really
Jake Nerwinski.
yeah.
You have to have very cheap options at striker, central midfield, or something like that in order to pay a right back that much.
Well,
That's
let's look at
essentially what it is.
Beitashour.
Yeah.
We wouldn't give him what he was looking for, which I think was just about 200,000. He's on
was-
just under 300 now at LAFC.
Yeah.
And he's only 31. He's
Well,
a good experience right back in MLS.
One thing to say about Beitashour, left the Whitecaps, went to TFC. Whitecaps didn't make the playoffs, TFC did. Left TFC to go to LAFC. TFC didn't make the playoffs, LAFC did. Maybe he is some kind of magical charm.
Only 3 years older than Eric Hurtado. Which is,
Wow.
yeah.
And Iran made
Wow,
the
you've
World
just
Cup.
blown my mind for the second time.
Yeah.
tonight. Really?
Well, yeah, if Eric Hurtado is 28 and Beitashour is 31, you said? Yeah, so yeah.
Two good suggestions, and one of these is on my list. I don't think we would get this guy, but it would be amazing if we did. Julian Gressel from Atlanta.
Never going to
Never,
happen.
not
Stop
in a
it right
million
there.
years.
Glass City, Caleb Wilkins suggested him. 111,000 he is only on.
Because he was
The-
a draft pick.
The
Yeah.
the MLS staff writers would jump off a building if that did
Yeah.
happen. They're so in love with that guy.
The one which is again a Whitecap young age kind of player that we mentioned I think last week is San Jose's Nick Lima.
Yes, he was the top of my list. Now, he was suggested as well by Chris Harrop and Beau Chevalier. He's only on 100,000. He played all 34 games for the Quakes this year. 2 goals and 2 assists. Gressel, by the way, got 14 assists.
Yeah,
That's
when you're passing
insane.
to Martinez.
But that's again.
I guess.
But then again, again, I'm going to keep repeating myself. When you have a young fullback that's American, it's very hard to get them out of the.
Well, maybe it's
Yeah.
maybe it's a position that the Whitecaps used their second round pick for this year to try and bring someone
Yeah.
in. Like, I know it hasn't worked out last year, but
Yeah, I mean, the draft picks this year were promising and then turned out to be dreadful. If you had Lima and Nerwinski, that would be one hell of a battle at right back.
You know,
Two potential US national team right backs.
Another right back who has lots of ML experience is under 30. Wage probably could be lower than it was previously. Is a young man named Shannon Williams. I think he might be available at LA.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
if we had Nerwinski and Lima, I think it would be too much of a battle to the point that someone would be unhappy. That's just my one
Probably,
piece of
yes.
my caution. There.
We don't want Nerwinski going to New York.
No.
Let's move to the left. Now, couple of interesting suggestions here. Ashton Morgan was suggested by Whitecap Scarf, who mainly has just suggested Canadian players.
I don't
But he
know.
is on 121.5.
I don't like him.
He's
He
never
makes-
been a starter anywhere, though.
He makes too many mistakes.
That's
why they
maybe
got.
why he's never been a starter.
He's
anywhere.
on the bench. He was a starter for TFC, and then they got Justin Morrow, and then he went to the bench essentially.
Anton Tinnerholm from New York City was suggested by a lot of folk. Caleb Wilkins, Thomas Brown, Peter
350.
Hickins. 434,925 he is on guaranteed.
I thought it was 350. Okay.
Yeah.
One person who is on 100,000 a year, plays for a really good team, and who I really like is Kamar Lawrence.
Yes. He was
Yeah,
also
New York
suggested
Red
by
Bulls.
Drayton Van Ays.
Yeah.
255,660 guaranteed though
Oh,
he is
okay.
on. So his base is
Yeah.
low, but then his guaranteed takes it up. 4 goals and 10 assists he's got. Now the thing with our left back, we've got Marcel de Jong, we've got Brett Levi, so they're both due back.
Now, if
So you need to
That
you can't-
partnership is good for at least
Yeah.
another year.
No,
you can't
Des-
afford to spend too much.
if Dos Santos goes 3 at the back, then you basically that becomes a wing back where
Yeah.
they're obviously going to have some defensive responsibility. It'll be less defensive responsibility. So maybe it fits better with them that they're going to be playing in those kind of positions if he goes 3 at the back.
I think Levi's would still be the default option if it is a wing
For
back
now.
position.
Yeah, because it's unlikely Franklin's to come back on the right side. I think the left side, as much as I still, even though I've talked about him as a left back, I still don't think Marcel truly naturally is a left back. He's a left winger.
No, I think if I think that they might move De Jong to left wing.
Yeah.
Like I said, a backup left winger, and then we could bring Levi's in at left back, and then you bring in somebody to challenge him.
But Steve, you're replacing Alphonso Davies with.
A backup. I just said De Jong
Yeah.
as a backup.
But then who starts?
Davies was never a backup. You bring in somebody.
Yeah,
We're going to get to that.
Yeah.
yeah, it's true. No, I mean at left back,
Yeah.
right? Like it
Well,
would still be
that-
Levi's again.
So at left back, I see Marcel as either starting or I see him and Levi splitting it at left back, or Marcel kind of being the secondary option both at left back and somewhere up the left wing. So I think it's one of the maybe more the less urgent
yeah,
positions.
I think that's one that if you do bring someone in, you don't want to spend much money on.
Yeah, and this is my one suggestion, which is again not a great suggestion by any means. and I don't know his situation. I can't remember his dollars, but he's young enough and he's Canadian enough. Is Raheem Edwards?
Yeah, you're a fan of.
Yeah, I know. I had him on the list too. Now he's also kind of in that De Jong situation where he's kind of a left winger but left back. The only problem is with him. I saw him. He's only 80,000, I think, on the cap. Whoa. But when the trade happened, when he got sent from Montreal to Chicago, Chicago paid $400,000 in TAM to acquire him, which surprised me when I saw that. I was like, why are they spending that much on them? So maybe they had just TAM lying around. They had to spend it or something. I don't know.
It was going to expire in the fridge.
Yeah.
Well, maybe it's also because, Steve, his contract situation might be so good.
Yeah.
He might be locked in at so many options at a low price that they're figuring they can get it for a number of years for a low price.
The last left-back option we'll mention is a guy who is also popular with our listeners, Glass City, Chris Harrop, Caleb Wilkins, who wants him as a left winger, Whitecaps Scarf, who wants him as a midfielder, as does Peter Hickens, Yoshi Uton from Orlando,
Isn't he
Peruvian.
a DP?
He's at 600,000, so that could be one of your blockbuster
He could be a TAM.
deals.
He could be a TAM player.
But that could be your big block. Like I said, you can probably afford to go for one guy.
That's too much of a luxury.
The MLS rights of Breck Shea.
Wing, he can play left back, he can play DM. 4 goals and 10 assists from 22 appearances. Someone to keep Jordi Reyna happy.
If you're bringing him in as a DM, then I could see that happening. But if you're bringing him at a left back, that wouldn't be. I would see him in emergency situations.
I would be underwhelmed.
Yeah. So we'll just round off this section with centre backs, and then we'll do midfielders in the next part. Now, obviously, right now we don't know what centre backs are going to be back. We can assume Kendall probably won't be, but you never know.
Yeah.
Highly unlikely though. I think we might have Daniil Henry, probably Aaron Mond if they pick his option up.
I think they will because it's cheap.
Dominguez, the guy that they brought in.
Yeah, he didn't seem very happy.
Comments this week about not playing and not being happy, and there are talks of maybe trading him to DC. Fine, get rid of him.
Yeah.
Who cares? If you're not happy, just get shot.
Yeah. And there might be a center.
Jose Aja?
We have to give money.
No, I think it's a little mistaken. I saw on Transfer Market, it actually was a note on there. They have to give, if they sell him outside the MLS or something like that, then they have to give him money.
No, if we pick his option up,
is
we have
it that
to send
too?
money.
Okay,
yeah.
so there's two options. Yeah,
he is only 20. He's in that young Whitecap age range of 25.
And I liked him initially. What I saw from him initially seemed good. For me, the big standout guy, and again, this would possibly be another one of the blockbuster deals if you're only going to do one, is Aiko Para. Glass City, Chris Harrop, Peter Higgins suggested him as well. 9 seasons in the league. He's not cheap anymore. When he won Defender of the Year, he was like under 200,000. He's on 342,916 now. He's 30 in February, which is experienced, not a bad age. You could have him for a couple of years. Big thing he's got over Kendall, he's only been sent off once in 9 years of MLS play.
That's amazing.
15 goals and 5 assists as well, which I know when you're talking about defenders, you can't really look at their goals.
Well, he's a set-piece threat.
Yeah. 3 goals and 2 assists this year.
I personally think that if you're going to keep Daniel Henry and you're keeping Mond, I think the center back you bring in is somebody from abroad. I think that's one of the positions. No, TAM.
Just a TAM.
Like a high TAM player, like maybe at 600,000 and you buy him down to 300 or something, whatever the case is, however they can deal with it. So I think that's the position the starting position.
One center back who's out of contract this year is a young man named Timothy Parker. They should look at him.
Oh, yes.
I think he's going to Europe.
Yeah, he's had interest from Europe, but yeah, he'd be a good one to look at. Get a New York connection with Jake Nowinski.
Yeah.
There 2 people I thought of. One because he's my favourite centre-back. He's getting old. Maybe Atlanta will let him go. Is Michael Parkhurst. Still really functional, but he's getting old. Like, that's the thing.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
If Atlanta if they don't win the cup and they want to do that building block under a new coach and everything like that, they need to look at new centre-backs. So maybe there's something on the table there that could happen. Second one, person who's only started 5 times despite being a very experienced MLS player, is Aurélien Collin.
Who I love.
Yes.
For me, he's a little too old and a little too slow at this point.
32.
I think he might be slow for what Dos Santos wants to play.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that would be my problem with Parkhurst as well.
Yeah,
like if you're gonna play Daniel with him, then okay, at least Daniel has some pace and it could balance well. But
A good finish on him as well.
Both those guys.
Well, net, but good finish.
Both those guys would be concerning for me for pace, but they are that kind of veteran, MLS center back.
Couple of guys I have as cheap options if as depth, especially if they're going to go 3 at the back that they need extra backups, is Kofi Parra from DC United. Would be a decent backup if they trade.
Could we get 2
If
yeah.
If they deal what's his name to DC.
Dominguez.
Yeah, maybe they get him back for him.
He's on 133, 125.
Yeah.
6 seasons in the league.
And another one is Amir Didic. He played under Dos Santos for Swope
Yes, Whitecaps
6'4", Canadian.
Him. He's never made an MLS appearance, but Dos Santos is going to know him.
Yeah.
He was somebody that jumped out as...
Yeah, if Dos Santos likes him, I think they should go for him. I don't know if he likes him or not.
He's on just over 55.5 as well, so that's a very cheap option.
Yeah.
Obviously, these guys would probably need more. Some others that were suggested that are totally out of the ballpark money-wise probably is Leandro Gonzalez-Perez from Atlanta.
No, they're not going to get rid of him.
Alexander Callens from NYC.
He's over 500,000, I think.
That was Chris Harp and Peter Higgins that suggested him. Axel Sjoberg, Chris Corrigan, and...
Sjoberg would be disastrous.
Yeah, Rusty Dubert mentioned him. 195. He's probably too slow.
Yeah,
he was good when he first came into the league.
He's awkward and lanky.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
He's the guy. Slamo would love that because he's the guy. He's the guy who played
Thunder Bay
Chill.
Yes.
Yeah.
Another Canadian, Jakovic at LAFC.
Oh, slow.
Yeah.
Experienced.
I appreciate Dehan, but and he's like 33. It's not.
Caleb
It's not a
Wilkins
fit.
suggested this one. When he suggested this, I thought, it's not a bad shout. And then I saw his salary and I was stunned. Justin Glad at RSL, 291,000 he's on.
Yeah, but
That's
he
not bad,
didn't start those
You
two.
think what Tim Parker was on and how he wanted more.
But
And
Glad
didn't you see
is
it?
the shining hope for.
But the thing
RSL
is, he
back
didn't
line.
start for RSL in their 2 playoff games.
Hmm.
They started Matt Beasler's brother. I don't know his first name.
Well, Matt Beasler was also suggested
That's
by
not
a
enough.
couple of folk, but way too
People
high.
are asking for way too much. See, that's where you put the dream and the realistic,
I
and
know,
you confuse
that was
people
my
too
mistake.
much.
Yeah.
But here's an interesting one. Andrew Farrell, New England Revolution.
Oh,
He's on 267.5.
Yeah, he was,
6 seasons in MLS now.
Yeah, he would be great.
6 hard seasons on that horrible AstroTurf.
Yes.
Yeah.
The memory I have of him is I was watching on the Zone this year. I was just watching a random MLS game. He scored his first MLS goal. It was off a corner or something like that, and it was the most joyous celebration I've seen in MLS. It was fantastic. Yeah, he would be a good option.
He's a
good experience.
He's a right back / center back, so
Can
he'd
play
have
center
the speed to play center back in the
and
DeSantis
he's
style.
big and powerful as
Yeah,
well.
not tall, but yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one from Glass City. I like that. And the last one I'll mention, just from Thomas Brown, someone that Marc Dos Santos will know a lot about, but he only moved to LAFC this season, Walker Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Again, 6 seasons in the league. He's on another reasonable 235, so that's not bad amount.
Yeah, but he's American and he's on a 235 for an expansion team. That likes to spend on attackers.
Yeah, I cannot see them wanting to get rid of him, especially after they already got rid of Simon.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, there was talk about, we have the option to play 3 at the back because we have 3 such solid center backs. So I couldn't see that. To me, that's too unrealistic.
Yeah, so I think Farrell might be the one from the high end, but someone like Didic as well is definitely a possibility.
The thing about Farrell is he's not a natural centre back. He's played mainly at full back, so that might be
could have
having
a bit
someone
of
who can do
versatility there
two
as well.
positions.
I believe in that MDS will be able to find a young Brazilian or by 25 Brazilian that can play that center back position.
That's the hard thing about this is because we're kind of doing this in a vacuum, right? We're kind of doing this of just MLS.
Yeah.
Because you don't know what the other options are. Like we're not. It's like
we
we're playing
we
manager.
just wanted to do this for MLS.
It's like we're playing manager mode in MLS on FIFA. We're not playing what's it called? Football Manager.
Funny story about Whitecaps and Football Manager 19. Actually, as I was playing, the whole game crashed, and every time I would go back, it would crash at the same place, which I think is just saving me from the inevitable heartbreak of a Whitecaps season. So I managed Cambridge United instead.
That's sad. Anyway, we'll be back to look at some midfield options after this.
Hi, I'm Jake Nowinski, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
The Dutch East India Company and the USA of A think they can fill
Welcome back. You're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. In spiral carpets in the fall there with I Want You. And there's a lot of MLS players that we would love to have here in Vancouver. Some more realistic than others. I don't think I'll be getting my Johnny Russell here. He is on 1.3 million. 10 goals and 10 assists.
That's a value for them for sure.
We're going to look at all the midfielders together. So we'll have 10 minutes chatting about the midfielders, 10 minutes chatting about forwards, and just some of the suggestions that came up. So these could be DMs, CMs, AMs, LMs, RMs, any other AMs, PMs, DMs. Well, I've mentioned DMs. Slide into mine. Any players in the midfield that tickle your fancy?
Okay, let's get the one out of the air right away. Mark Anthony Kay.
Yeah, I think everyone on
everybody had it. Everybody had that.
Let's see who I had suggesting him quickly.
That was a big long list
Glass
of people.
City, Drayton Van Aas, Peter Hickens, Caleb Wilkins, Thomas Brown, Beau Chevalier, Chris Harrop, Whitecap Scarf, me.
And let's just finish it off here. Not going to happen.
Yeah, exactly.
They value him too much down there.
Yeah, he was. We talked about he was too significant to their team.
When Taylor Twellman mentions him in the playoff telecast, saying that how much they miss him.
2 goals.
Why do you love Taylor Twellman so much?
Because I'm just saying that he mentioned a Canadian on a broadcast. You know that it's significant miss.
Only on 75,000.
Yeah.
I mean, he needs to get more.
Yeah, this is not an open system.
Oh, no, I
where
know.
you can
It's
walk
not
in
like-
and say,
it's not like
"We'll
proper
give you
football."
more."
Well, if he signed with the Mexico team, maybe he can get more.
It would be nice though, like if we can live in that space for just a minute. Okay, let's look at teams that are in disarray and are rebuilding. Right?
Oh, we are the Whitecaps.
It's true. Yeah, we're constantly looking at that team.
But no, yeah, that is the way to do it.
Yes.
Teams like that want to maybe get rid of some guys to bring new ones in, or raise some money, or are in the East.
Yeah.
That's your realistic things.
A team that traded for a player for a lot of money and then traded him away in the same season. Does that sound like the kind of team that that we're working with? Yeah,
they seem like the perfect picking.
Yeah. So how about
place.
Sasha Kljestan?
Now that would be
he would want
good
to,
one.
If I don't know how any professional player would want to stay in that kind of an environment.
No.
Like a huge stadium with lots of fans is a great thing if you're winning.
Yes.
If you're losing, it is terrible. Especially like if they're right
if you
there.
just can't make the playoffs.
Yeah. So why not him, right?
So the Whitecaps have a connection to him, right? Through Felipe.
And that he got
yes.
sent off against the Whitecaps a few years ago too. That's a connection in a way.
Well, if Felipe stays here.
Well, Felipe is one of the guys that should be back next year.
Really?
Well, he's under contract, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but he could be traded too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he could be, but he also
Well, he like for all these trades that we're talking about, he's like a good person to put up as your trade bait.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think though, and we'll see how this plays out. But to me, Marc Dos Santos coming in makes it more likely or possible for Felipe to stay.
That's true.
Yes, I think he suits the kind of game that he plays. I think they'll get on.
Yeah, I think you'll also just be able to go that extra mile in terms of connecting with him, even just via speaking the same language, primary language.
Yeah, English.
One guy I had that was kind of under the radar that I noticed when I was scouring through Transfer Market was a center midfielder from DC United. His name is Ulysses Seguero. He's a Costa Rican.
We had a Ulysses here.
Yeah. Thiago Ulysses, I think it was. No, but he was on the cusp of making the World Cup team. Just missed out on it. He was actually profiled in the Washington Post, and he could be a guy, not as a starter, but like as a decent guy, as a third central midfielder who can play box to box, a little attacking.
Yeah, a couple of people I would like. These are my break the bank list for midfield. Krylach.
Yeah. Before
Would be
this
nice.
playoff run, you would maybe have had more chance of getting him.
Yeah.
After this playoff run, his stock's going to be
34
a lot
games,
higher.
15 goals.
Yeah.
Like, that would be very nice. Mulholland on the same team.
Who I've always wanted us to sign
Yeah.
because I've got a song by Frank Black, Hooray, Hooray, Hooray for Mulholland, and I've always wanted to play it on the show.
And if we wanted to raid Chicago, I would be happy with one of either Dax McCarthy or Matt Polster.
Yeah.
I think Dax is getting a little long in the tooth, but yeah, Matt Polster for sure is on my list.
But we have to get some experienced guys as
But
well.
Matt
It can't
Polster,
just
Matt
be-
Polster has 4 or 5 years of MLS, or like 80 to 100
Yeah.
games of MLS experience. Like I think
But you need an old veteran as well. Like if Kai's not back, you need some over 30 guys in that locker room.
But Matt Polster plays like one of those.
Yeah.
Like he's an old head on young shoulders, or whatever the saying is, right? Like he would be. I can't think. Like the more I think about it, the more I would love it, and the more I realize it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
he also is like Joe and I were just talking about this because we both thought of him, but like he's played in Cascadia before. He played for Victoria Highlanders briefly back in the day.
Some other suggestions. A couple of folks suggested Benny Feilhaber.
He was
But-
actually on my list, but for some reason I didn't bring him
Yeah.
up. But yeah, LAFC letting him go. Well, maybe one
But
of
again,
him or
like,
Mark Anthony Kay.
We don't think LAFC will let guys like that go, but LAFC is a market where they want to bring in high-profile players, and if they can get a replacement for him that's a bigger name,
Yeah.
you've got more chance of them shipping someone out.
But you also need these teams that want to bring. You need these kind of glue guys that have MLS experience because you
Oh,
can't
yeah,
just
no,
bring in.
totally.
You just can't bring in like new player,
and he's
new player.
Bob Bradley's man,
Yeah.
too. Like on the field.
Like I think Bob Bradley treats him more like a son than Michael Bradley.
But they have that. They have that with a number of players, right?
Yeah.
Both young and old. So they're they have Jordan Harvey and Beitashour. They
Yeah.
have Walker Zimmerman's been around.
And I
for a
think
number of
they
years.
like that, and they like
Yeah.
that. I think if they replace people, they're going to replace a Diego Rossi if they sell him
Yes.
off. If
I
Carlos Vela,
also
if they sell
don't
him
really
off.
see LAFC blowing up a team that was so successful in their first year.
Yeah.
You don't want to do what we're doing, which is every year 15, 16 new faces come in.
Yeah. That young Portuguese guy they have who plays for like Portugal's under 21s. Yeah, is he a midfielder or a striker? Or? Yeah, he would be nice, I think.
He was the player, and I haven't looked at how it all played out. He was the player that everyone was expecting would take Mark Anthony Kay's place in their midfield when he came in, and it was proven that Mark Anthony Kay was too significant for them up until his injury.
Other suggestions from the readers, listeners?
Felipe Gutierrez would be nice, but
Ooh.
probably
Is he the
unlikely.
Chilean guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
from Sporting. I think he's
so.
Sporting. Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Now, a few people suggested Columbus's Artur. Now, Columbus is a team that you feel you could possibly go in and pick from.
Yeah.
Because of their ownership changes.
No, just it's an Eastern team.
because they are rebooting into Crew
Yeah.
2.0.
But
an
he-
Eastern team that might need
through-
to
I think
just
he's
do something different.
I think he's too important to the team for like he's an anchor of the
And he's
midfield.
no awful.
So that Columbus was actually one of. I had one suggestion, or not suggestion, but kind of like a rehash from Columbus, especially if Berhalter is leaving or whatever to take the American
Yeah.
job, or I guess we won't know about that for a little bit. But if he is leaving, and then Steve, as you mentioned, they're in this kind of, let's call it a transition phase.
Resetting.
Yeah, one of the players which has been linked to Vancouver in the past, and I'm not saying again, I don't think this is an excellent idea, but I think it's definitely something that has has had legs in the past and could in the future, is Justin Miram.
Yeah, but he just moved for twice. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I like Justin Mirren too. But yeah, you're right. Yeah, I
Would
don't
he
know if
want
he's
to
going to
move? It seemed to be a very personal,
I think he was
journey
okay.
that he went through.
I think he realized how good he had it at Columbus.
Yeah.
Because not very many people bothered
But
him.
why would he? Why would he risk that? I guess he doesn't have a choice in the matter if it's a trade. But
I think things just didn't click
Yeah.
in Orlando.
And Orlando.
I don't know how much of it was personal, but I know,
Well,
obviously
a lot
Columbia.
of players, things just don't seem to click in Orlando. So there does seem to be big issues down
well,
there.
not just players, coaches.
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
are we including wingers in this midfielder discussion?
No,
No,
I think we'll go
coming
for
up.
them in the forwards
In
and
1
attackers.
minute.
Last one I'll probably mention then, Sebastian Leger.
Who's he from? Where's he playing from?
He plays for Galaxy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
Michael,
yeah.
I think
The
it's high.
Galaxy might want to just,
I forget her name, but like his girlfriend is like an actress in Hollywood.
hey,
So,
we're Hollywood North.
Yeah, I don't.
Is it Rose McIver? No.
I don't believe so. She was in. I don't know her name, but she was in what's that movie called? With the kids thing, kids show, Power Rangers, the Power Rangers movie.
Oh.
She was in that.
Any other midfielders tickle your pickle?
No. If we could get all 8 of those, I'd be happy.
Okay, let's move on to attackers. So we'll class wingers, strikers, anything like that.
Okay, so let's just get this. Let's just get this out of the way.
Johnny
Ready?
Russell.
No. Well, Johnny Russell, sure, but more importantly for Michael, he's got a Will Bruin. Michael wants Will Bruin.
No, he's just signed a new deal.
That's never stopped you wanting
No,
him here before.
No, he's dead to me now.
Really?
Yep.
Wow. To both of us.
Yep. It's gone.
I'm
My
a Will
moment's
Bruin
gone.
fan for the record as well. Wingers Savarino from RSL. I feel like I'm picking on RSL a lot. Maybe
But that does seem like a team as well you could pick from. The only
Yeah.
problem picking a team like that is we could be battling them for 5th, 6th spot.
Now,
yeah.
my first choice for winger, since in case Kamara and Davies obviously is leaving, and they were famous for the Wakanda dance. Why not bring in the real Black Panther and Albert Elise?
Oh, no way.
Yes.
That's the guy I would break the bank for.
Well, yeah, he
out
would
of
be one of your
everybody.
other bumper ones.
No, he's
He's on 650 just now.
over-
You'd have to go maybe 8, 9 to get
No,
him.
no. Over all the players that were mentioned, and I looked at today, he'd be my number one choice to bring in from somewhere else in MLS.
He was also a choice of Glass City, Drayton Van Nuys,
Yeah.
Caleb Wilkins, and Peter Hickens.
To me, honestly, I know that they did as a team did not perform or did not make the playoffs or whatever. But to me, honestly, all three of the front three of Houston could be or should be realistic options.
Oh, yeah.
Like Manotas,
Manotas,
Elise, and Kyoto.
I would
all of
even
them.
throw
I'd take all
Thomas
three.
Martinez.
They won't be able to prize them away from Houston.
No, they can. I guarantee you, Houston is cheap. If you offer them,
But it's the heat and stuff as
no,
well.
but listen, if you offer them $750 in TAM or something, and then you say if we sell them off, you guys get 50% of the fees.
Or
Then
we
they will
re-sign
go for
Brett
that.
Shea and we do a bumper trade where
Because-
we get Albert Elise and Manotas.
Manotas.
I like Manotas. for
Breck Shea.
Albert Ellis and Manotas. Breck Shea and Eric Cataro.
No, that's
Both the same age.
Yep.
Importantly enough.
I'll spend-
Experience.
What
for
about
Houston.
how come
I'll
how come
spend the
Juarez
rest of the
wasn't
8
in there?
minutes on Elise. I'm done. Elise is my guy. Nobody else.
Juarez would be an interesting person to put up for a Hispanic market in the States.
Actually, yes.
He played for Mexico,
Yeah.
which means he has more notoriety in Texas than he ever will in all of Canada because of the ties that part of the
That's
country
actually
has.
a very good point.
Juarez
Might
from
be
Mark
something
Anthony K. 1-for-1.
I wonder. Yeah, you could.
Are we having Steve committed? Is there like a place up here at the university we could drop him off at?
Nobody's
for
trading
evaluation.
Nobody's trading for Juarez.
But this,
at all.
throw him and some money for one of those front three.
This kind of
I
conversation.
would trade him for a bag of balls. And not the balls for the queen. Just any balls.
This kind of conversation happens in my head all the time when I'm playing Football Manager for too long and I'm looking through too many players. I'm like, I can get Cristiano Ronaldo for $1 million over 12 years or something.
Juarez is the one where you actually I don't play Football Manager, but you play FIFA, where they say, this is not doable, and then you override it. That's a Juarez trade right there. You have to basically override the trade.
For wingers, I had Lamar for Dallas. Just a really pacey, good MLS option.
See, I did think Dallas was a team that might, after blowing it again, that might think, right, we just need to concentrate on our young guys and get rid of some of the other guys
New
and bring
coach.
new faces in. Yeah, because Pereira looks like he's going down to Mexico.
Yeah, Akindele on the bench, only 5 stars.
I don't mind him. I
Steve
mentioned him
likes-
too. One guy I like is Ethan Finley from Minnesota. He had a big injury.
Oh, yeah.
But maybe Minnesota might be wary of him, and they
Never
might
even
want
thought
to
of
give
him.
him up.
That's a good one.
He's a key piece, and they're opening the new stadium. I don't see him.
Anthony
I think
Jackson
he'd be
Hamal.
more than because Quintero is the key piece. I think.
For you, is that 2 players?
Yeah. Anthony Jackson and Jackson Hamel.
I think we have
2 for 1 deal.
I think we have a decent Anthony Jackson Hamel type, a younger version in Theo Bear. I don't think we need to trade for Anthony Jackson.
But Anthony Jackson Hamel is more of a central kind of player.
Going to throw out 2 more names.
That's what they want Theo Bear to be.
But that's not what he's been playing, right?
No, he has. He's been playing middle and out.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, this would be expensive, and I think if we're going to do a bumper trade, I don't think he would be my guy that would do the bumper trade for. João Plata, cap killer. Take the guy that kills you. Like Blas Perez.
He definitely is that.
We have to adjust
even back to Voyageurs Cup days.
We're going to have to
for
adjust the
Toronto FC.
urinals in the locker room. They're going to have to lower them or something like that.
48 goals and 48 assists in his MLS career.
In how many games?
8 seasons, 194 appearances.
How much is salary?
683,
See, that's-
which I didn't think it was going to be as high as that, I've got to say.
I would take Elise over him.
But would you also would
then
you evaluate his exit from Toronto, because that was not done in ways.
Lots of folk have left Toronto in bad ways. Look at Nick Silsma, left Toronto in bad ways, scored 14 goals at the weekend. Let's get Nick Silsma.
I always leave Toronto in a bad mood, so it's not really.
I bring that up in people's the last 5 years. People have viewed the ways players have exited the Whitecaps and say, I don't want players who would do that kind of thing.
Yeah,
you'd have to.
Well, look at Kai Kamara, who has left under clouds in some places.
But his
different kinds of clouds.
Yeah, his was different. Yeah.
And Plata last season was having a rough time with the management in RSL as well, so it could be a reoccurring thing.
I saw the only one tweet I did see, actually, because I didn't look at all the tweets about this, but the one tweet I did saw, someone mentioned Lee Nguyen.
Yeah,
and I thought that's never going to happen.
No,
and not even just because LA might want to keep him. It's just not going to happen.
Still looking for that TV. The one player that Marc Dos Santos did mention last week, we'll talk about him. Latif Blessing, Ghanaian. Ghanaians.
And the thing is, he mentioned him because he was just describing a type of player he would like.
And he said, I can mention him because he was one of mine.
Yeah.
21, 2 seasons in MLS. First with SKC, last year with LAFC. Last year with LAFC, 30 appearances, but only 18 starts. So he was used as a sub, but he got 5 goals and 6 assists. That, to me, would be a good signing.
They're not going to let him go.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to let him go. To me, he seems like a cross between Kakuta Mane and a Ghanaian guy, Mohawk.
Gershon Kofi.
No.
Dominic Oduro.
Yeah, Dominic Oduro.
He's only on just over 84,000. Oh, yeah, Dominic Oduro.
Yeah, he seems a cross between those where he's got pace. He has this asset that is always going to be significant and important in football. Dominic Oduro, I think his finishing let him down over the years. So I think Latif is somewhere in between. So he could be more on the higher end finishing end of what I think Kakuta kind of was at his heights.
I know we're saying, LA will never let him go. If we're offering stuff like Gam and Tam, that's the kind of club that needs to get Gam and Tam
Very good point,
for what they want to do.
And he would be a guy that's a luxury for them because he's off the bench.
He's not a starter.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the kind of guy. Any other suggestions you've got before I quickly go through the list of some other names that were thrown out?
I think the glaring omission here is a striker, like someone who can really put the goals away, and I don't think we can look in the MLS for that.
No, I think that's going to be the DP.
Yeah.
Some of the other names that were suggested were Miguel Ibarra, David Akam, Kevin Molino, Jizzy Zardes, Ola Kamara. Ola Kamara obviously was a little bit out of favour, but Zlatan's going to go.
Is he though?
Yeah, sorry.
Darwin Quintero was suggested as well.
You guys said this a while ago about, Zlatan's gone for sure.
I just saw a report that someone in Italy wanted him.
Right, someone in Italy wanted him. The thing is, though, and I don't know how much this weighs into everything, one of the reasons why the Galaxy are paying him $1.5 million on TAM money is because he has a deal with Samsung to promote the Galaxy phone, which is obviously tied in with him being at the Galaxy. Now, maybe that's not an exclusive kind of thing, but one of the reasons why he has such a cheap salary is because he's making so much money off other things.
Well, let's sit down with Sam and talk to him. See what Samsung says.
So I don't know if he's leaving that easily.
Yeah.
Whether by choice
if he
or
didn't,
by
Ola Kamara is definitely. I mean, I would have loved the Kamara double partnership. Kamara up front, Opara at the back. That's like a dream. Nightmare for commentators, but a dream.
I know it's easy. Then you can't get it wrong. You just say, "Oh, it's at the back."
True, yeah.
No,
at
then
the front,
you just use the first names.
Get both Baudissimo brothers in.
Like I personally
Caden
think
Chung and Logan Chung, bring them in.
I think the most significant starters that are going to come in next year for this team, the new ones especially, are going to be just one name players. If you catch my drift, they will be Brazilians basically.
Yeah.
The one player that you mentioned there, who again also someone who did not settle well this year, is David Akam, who does have also have crazy pace.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So, realistically, how much trade movement do you see happening? Davis money gives us an additional $750 in GAM on top of what we've got.
I have estimated about 2 to 3 players out and I think about 2 to 3 players in. And I don't think it's going to be. I think the
On
2-3
trades.
players, on trades.
The problem is we
I
don't
think
have tons of tradable assets.
No, I think
unless we pick up some options on the knowledge of trading them.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about. I think the players and the thing, I don't think it's going to be like a player X for player Y. I think it's player X goes to another team, and then we use some assets to get that other player from a different team.
One prediction that I will put out there, and we can reevaluate this at the start of the season. We will see a trade with LAFC because of Dos Santos'
some trade.
There's going to be something there.
This feels like Joe playing the pregame show, where he's like, "Okay, we're gonna make 3 predictions, and this is my safe one: is that MDS will take someone from his former team."
I think that is it. And then Johnny Russell is my out there one.
Yeah, the safe prediction is Waston.
I feel if I mention to Mark enough about Johnny Russell, he's just going to cave and go. Every time I speak to him, he mentions Johnny Russell. I'm just going to sign him.
I'm going to start mentioning Elise then.
You do that.
And Ellis.
What car are you going to lease?
Would you trade Kendall Waston to another team just so he's not our problem anymore?
No. Oh, you mean just trade him and get assets and then let them sell them?
Depends what you get back.
Hey,
okay, if it was...
We'll take Albert Ellis.
Like the
Alain
Rochette trade?
Yeah.
Okay, let me put a few out here. Luke Mulholland for Kendall Waston, yes or no?
No.
Yes. If Waston's going to leave, I'll take
not
any
a
player.
chance.
Take a chance. There's no song. Would you still make that trade?
That's the important question there, Steve. No, here's the thing with Kendall. I think they have entertained offers in the past, and they're going to entertain offers now to sell him abroad, where they can make money for themselves as owners and for the club.
And they'll add more GAM if it's over like $1 million and a half or something like that.
How about if he's wanting to go to China, we trade with a Chinese club and get one of their foreign superstars. There's a lot of Brazilians.
The Chinese club.
Yeah. There's a lot of Brazilians over there.
That is a possibility, yeah.
Could definitely see that happening.
One thing I want to just quickly mention, it's funny, I found it funny, when I was going through the top goals, I just was going through the top goal scorers of 2018, in between 51 and 100, there was a guy named Jonathan McDonald, and it is the same Jonathan. He's playing in Costa Rican League, and he scored
How old is he now?
I think he's like 29, 30.
Really?
So young for a Whitecap, I guess. But
1 year older than Eric Hurtado.
I still say trade with BCT Rovers Tigers United, get Nick Sulzma in, a little bit of MLS experience.
Well, didn't he score 14, you said?
14.
This week.
Was that? How many matches was that?
1 game.
1 game. They won 17-1 against Campo Atletico.
Yeah, that was okay. I saw your I saw your sack. Giancarlo.
Yeah, hurry up and say, don't just say sack and take a pause. Just say, I saw your sack. And just finish it off there.
I think that game in particular is a good reason why when you're giving up 17 goals, you don't stick with 3 at the back, which is what they did. And they were getting ripped apart. But yeah, he had a hat-trick in 12 minutes, and then the goals just kept coming.
Joe, do you want to play for Campo? We know the people.
Can't be any worse.
They're looking for players, man.
2 of my very good friends used to play for Campo. Not in this promotion, after they got promoted. But, yeah.
Early this year, we were trying to negotiate a deal to get Chris Harrop to maybe be one of their keepers, because obviously there's a need.
Yeah, I don't think they're allowed to play 2 in a game, but it would maybe help. So here's how the next few weeks shape up for this building this new empire. November 26th, option exercise deadline day. December 9th is the half-day trade window. December 11th is the MLS expansion draft and free agency begins. December 12th is the pointless MLS waiver draft. Then December 14th and 20th, equally pointless, re-entry draft stages 1 and 2. I don't think we'll be super busy, but...
I think we'll pick pass.
Yeah, he's a good player, actually, pass, yeah.
I think we will, people will say, we talked about Juarez a couple times about being bought out. I don't think he's going to be bought out right away because I think they for the expansion draft, they need players to be available for our teams. So they will not, buy out everybody right away. I
still think they'll lose Spencer Ritchie.
Yeah, I think they might trade him to Cincinnati, get some assets, and say, don't pick anybody from us, or pick Juarez.
Here, you can have 2 for the price of 1. One thing we don't have is a first round draft pick, because we traded it away to New England for Kai Kamara. I know the draft was a bust this year, but if Kamara doesn't come back, was that worth giving that asset up? When you've had 1 good year from Kamara, but we didn't make the playoffs, And there are some good guys in the draft. For what you might think of it, you do get some good players.
But when you consider what you I know you didn't make the playoffs, but you got the highest score on your team, and I think the second or third highest score you've ever had in the league.
Yeah. But it still counts for nothing if you don't make the playoffs.
14 league goals, and he had at least one in the Voyageurs
Yes,
Cup.
he did.
Yeah, so
It was his second best ever MLS season.
I know. Like I kind of like the draft because I like to actually draft from other leagues more because it's just enjoyable. I've always liked them, but MLS draft is not that great. And for a team that doesn't do any scouting until the combine, basically, and then takes the word of other people that are scout the players. You can't until they establish a scouting staff. There's no point of really the draft for them.
Yeah, it's very scattergun approach.
Yeah.
The MLS draft is the Alibaba of drafts. You're just looking for bargains.
It was interesting to hear MDS though say, "I'm looking forward to going to the combine for the first time as a head coach
Yes.
and taking that all in and being able to."
I mean, there might be a
evaluate."
guy that they see and they do then make a move for because you never know.
You could buy a draft pick for like
Oh, yeah.
50,000. It's not that much.
Unless
to
you
buy
want a
one.
really high one, then it would be a
100,000 then.
Yeah,
Give
but,
Effie Juarez to someone for a draft pick.
but this is where they're honestly this is where
Yeah.
they're expecting MDS to excel, right? To get more than what something's worth.
True. So we'll see what happens with all that. I'm sure there's going to be a busy few weeks coming up. We're going to say goodbye to Joe Deasy now. Thank you for joining us this week, Joe.
We love you, Joe.
It's been a pleasure as always.
Where can they find you online?
What's my Twitter handle there? At Joe Deasy Van.
You keep changing it, it's hard to.
Yeah.
I like your cheesiness, but it's gone.
Yeah. I don't
No
know why.
cheese for D's.
He's just trying to stay ahead of the authorities.
Try to keep
I
his
guess.
cholesterol
Exactly.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As someone who's immigrated to Canada, you need to change your handle every few months.
Well, we're going to be back talking about people that aren't immigrants but are actually Canadians in the next part, and we'll be back with that after this.
Hello, it's Kai Kamara, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Spider-Man, does whatever a spider can. Spins a web in his eyes, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man. Yes, he's strong, this is good. He's got radioactive blood. Can't swing from a thread to the hook overhead. Here there goes the Spider-Man. In the chills of the night, I'm the scene of a crime. Like a streak of light, we rise in time.
I've always been confused by that. Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
He could do way more
Get
than
in the
Spider.
bath and terrorise naked women? I don't know. It's like, that's what spiders
good
do,
point.
at least to my wife anyway. You're back listening to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, 101.9 FM. Stan Lee died this week.
95. Not a bad run.
So my wife made a little post because we were planning to do this anyway. We were playing a bunch of Marvel games with our kids, like Marvel Munchkin and a few other things. Anyways,
Marvel Legendary, have you played that?
No, I have not.
That's really good. It's worth getting.
I'll have
We
to-
got that and expansion packs.
I'll have to look
Really
that up.
fun.
Strip Marvel, you played that?
No, not so much. But so my wife made a little post about it or whatever on social media, and Eric Vermeers, Whitecaps supporter from Bellingham, was part of her collective messenger and said that supposedly he pre-shot a bunch of cameos.
Yes.
for films.
It's about 2 to 3 movies still left.
Yeah,
They can.
but on
superb.
top of that, they've done some like whatever crazy stuff they do now with technology.
Digital, yeah. They're going to 3D hologram him.
Yeah,
Probably some of
so
them.
they can put him in a bunch of things because they've taken motion capture of him,
And
or
they
whatever.
can, all the stuff, all the audio he's made in the
Yeah.
past, they can all piece it together and make him actually do a full like monologue, or not monologue, but like
Yeah.
a line.
Or a little
Because all he
scene,
did
yeah.
was lines anyways. With a couple
Yeah, but it was sad to see him
It was
go.
sad. Like for me, I know a lot of people don't like comics. They don't think it's like a lower end kind of. But for me, like as a lonely kid, growing up, like he was like Marvel was the thing I got into first, and it got me reading and everything, and it was like a fantastic way to get it. And I know a lot of people at Marvel, DC, and everything, the fight between them, but Marvel had a lot of complex characters. Like Spider-Man, Peter Parker was not a normal kid. He was like he had a lot of problems, and X-Men was about race. Your Malcolm X and as Magneto and Charles Xavier as Martin Luther King. So
I like comic book films. I've never been a big fan of those kind of comic books. I like more horror comic books or comedy, but I always preferred Marvel to DC.
Oh yeah,
because they were complex. They were, but obviously DC got more complex as they kind of followed their.
I did not like a lot of the early Marvel movies. Like I didn't just the early Spider-Man. I did not enjoy them. But then now that I have kids. And my son just loves them, so we started to watch them more. And now one of the great things is, Steve, just like you're talking about learning to read, is it's helping my son read better. So one of the things he wants to read, right? And so we've enjoyed entering the Marvel universe.
For me,
together.
there was never a movie that was bad for me. I know a lot of people were so critical of some movies, but for me, reading all that stuff when I was a kid and then seeing them up on the screen just takes me back to being a kid again, and that's why I enjoyed so much.
Well, of course, the Whitecaps, we had our own superhero last season, Alphonso Davies.
Yeah.
He's moved on now, so the Whitecaps universe is looking for a new superhero to don the cape and see what they can do. Marc Dos Santos and other folk within the club, they've talked about building our future around the academy. Now, we've heard that a lot for 8 years, and it's never really happened. We won't go into all the ins and outs of why in this episode. It genuinely, maybe I've just bought the Kool-Aid, which is appropriate because today is the anniversary of the Jonestown massacre. But it feels like
to bring everything together.
Yeah, just bringing everything together. Yeah. It does feel like it could be different this time around.
You mean
in that we are going to have this bridge, and we're going to get academy guys getting more minutes and seeing first team action. The proof will be in the pudding.
In the positions they actually play.
Yeah. Yes.
So I got to throw that in there.
Does it feel different to you, or am I just being too optimistic here?
Well, the thing is that because they've said this stuff in the press conferences regularly, that it has to happen at this point.
Yeah,
they have to sink or swim with and they're not going to be playing these guys for 90 minutes for 5 straight games or something like that. They're going to be spotting them in, like you said, on the bench, bring them in, see what they can do in tight situations or in situations that are wide open.
I like your optimism, Michael, and obviously, I think we all hope that it plays out that way. But the Vancouver Whitecaps as an organization have been saying this for more than a decade.
Yeah,
and it hasn't ever really been true. A few hints of it here and there, but it hasn't really been true. So the
Russell Tybert,
the proof will be
of the year.
The proof will be in their actions.
And the other thing is we talked about the last 2 parts about bringing players in, right? Now, Bobby Leonarduzzi likes to say that, the Red Bulls look at where they are and they're developed players. Look at where the Sporting is and they develop. The thing is those 2 teams also bring in quality players from abroad that can play with the young players and raise them up and make them better players and not just scrubs that. The current Whitecaps players, but lesser players, but lesser players who aren't able to do that, don't have that capability. They're good players on their own, but they aren't able to raise other players.
Which is why I've said before, getting Kamara back to be with Theo Bair. And I asked Kai about that in the end of season press conference, and he's like, I'm not the babysitter.
Yeah.
Well, people need to, but he doesn't need to be the babysitter.
He's joking. He enjoys it.
No, but people can learn from the way he acts every day and everything. You don't need to actually babysit the players.
I think one of the differences between Dead Bull, New Jersey, and the Vancouver Whitecaps, Steve, though, is, and you said it there, is that they have been willing to spend on transfer fees to bring in a couple of those significant pieces to make things happen. And that has not been the case in Vancouver. Is it Tyler Adams? The Adams kid. I think it's Tyler Adams, right? He's not going to be as good if he doesn't have a Bradley Phillips to pass the ball to or a Daniel Royer to pass the ball to. Mm-hmm. If he's spraying the ball and the people up there aren't able to do anything with it, that's not going to make him look better. Yeah. I mean, they made one significant addition this offseason, and obviously he's a young player who they're trying to work in, but they paid, I think, $6 million for him. Kaku? Is it Kaku? Is that the right name?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you don't see Vancouver doing that.
No, not at this point.
Right now, we have 9 Canadians on the roster. Theo Bair, Michael Baldissimo, Simon Coline, Marcel de Jong, Daniel Henry, Brett Levi, Sean Melvin, David Norman, and young Russell Tybert.
All in alphabetical order?
Yeah.
I like that way you read it.
That's kind of enough for me, 9 Canadians, I think.
Well, I don't.
You can never have enough Canadians.
I think you can.
I think there will be I think the bottom 10, because they're not on the senior roster, should be mostly Canadian. That's number one.
Yeah.
Well, that's the,
I got a couple.
You have Henry in there.
I got a couple more if you want to add him in. I think Hassel, Thomas Hassel.
Thomas Hassel, yeah,
could be signed as a third keeper. I think you can. We talk about Habibullah. Could be a guy that brought in at the bottom of the roster, just so you signed him at 15, so he could be when he's 18 years.
Yeah, so many
sell him
clubs
off.
are going for these 15-year-old signings now. It's like the trendy thing to do.
That's where you want to build your bottom part of your roster.
Yeah, I do feel a lot of it though is just for show with other clubs.
The problem is, Michael, not that there are 9 of them on the roster. It's the contributions holistically of the 9.
I mean, De Jong and Levis between them made up one person for
One
the year,
position.
pretty much. So at least you've got that. And Daniil Henry was in and out of the team.
And Tybert was the same thing. At the beginning of this first half of the season, he couldn't get on at all.
Brett Levis finished the season as a starter, which very happy for Brett. We've known him so long, we've watched him for so long. When he started playing PDL for Victoria was when I first saw him. Then he came and played PDL for the Whitecaps, and he came through the college system in Canada. And 2 years ago, he made his MLS debut against Portland in the last game of the season. Fast forward 2 years, been a lot of ups and downs, there's been injuries, there's been some heartache for him, but he finished the season as a starter in MLS against Portland. That's a nice little journey. So I got a chance to sit down with Brett at the end of the season to chat about that, what the future may hold in store for him. Had to talk about the cramping issues he's had as well. So let's hear from Brett just now. So I just really want to talk to you, Brett, about the season you had and just kind of your journey over the last 2 years, because I was just thinking after the game on Sunday, you made your debut against Portland. You came on and got a few minutes. I know you picked up an injury, but then 2 years later, you finished the season against Portland and you finished it as the starter in the team.
Yeah.
When you look back at these 2 years, I know there's been a lot up and down, there's been some injuries and stuff, but how do you feel you've grown as a player in those 2 years?
I think a tremendous amount. When I went through the process of rehabbing the knee, I thought that year, at the end of that year, I said to myself that was probably one of the toughest years I've had to go through, just very mentally taxing. But I would almost say that, after this year, that this year was even more difficult, because for majority of the year I was healthy. I had a minor injury in preseason, and more so training every single day at my maximum capacity, putting everything on the field, playing some games, not playing other games, things that are completely out of my hands, other than what I put out on the field. But to be able to earn that spot and play the last few games of the year and get, in what I consider my first year, to get almost 15 games, I think it's positive, and I'm super excited for next year. I look forward to it, and I'm going to be, hungry and fit and ready.
You always hope to be a starter, obviously, but you've got a Canadian international that's ahead of you, and like Marcel had done well when he had been in. Did you think you were going to be, by the end of, in your wildest dreams or just your hopes, did you feel that by the end of the season you could claim that starting spot?
I believe that I would, again, whatever is in my hands, so that I know that that's what I can control, and I can't put out a starting 11. I can't. I can only, perform at my best ability in training every day, in games that I do get in. And I hope that the coach sees that, and at the end of the day, it's his decision who he plays. And I do think, for the most part, performance speaks on that. I have a ton of respect for Marcel. I watched him play as I grew up. He's a Canadian international, and he's a great guy off the field. So I think we have a great relationship, even though we are both fighting for the same spot. But I think that also is very important.
I'll talk about, I guess, the two elephants in the room. First one, the goals given up this year. You look at the players individually, you're all really top defenders. I mean, so many questions were asked over this season, what happened, what went wrong, and no one ever really knew what it was. Today, a lot of the players were kind of speaking about it was maybe there'd been a lot of chopping and changing, especially with centre-backs and having that core partnership. What do you put it all down to? It was just horrendous at times, and it wasn't one person, it seemed to be across the board.
Yeah, I don't think you can put it down to one thing. I think it's a number of factors, whether they're on field or off field. I think there wasn't a ton of consistency throughout the year. Like you've seen, like the fans have seen, it's not something that's a secret. There was a number of players on international duty. Other players had to get swapped in, and then regardless of how they played, a lot of times international guys would come back, they would get swapped back, and then one or two bad games, somebody would be out, somebody would be in, which is completely part of the sport. And I think some games we handled it well, and other games we didn't handle it very well. I also think that Rusty mentioned a couple weeks ago that we play a bit of a dangerous game where we like to be a very attack-minded, and I think you leave yourself liable to goals on the other end, and I think that's something that hopefully we'll look to fix next year, but who knows?
Yeah, Stefan mentioned that today as well. He hopes next season, if he's back, that the focus is more on the defence, and he feels that in MLS, defence is very underrated. Folk are always adding attacking players and midfielders, and they want the goals, they want the excitement. As a defender, do you feel that way?
To a certain extent. I also, like to look at it the other way and say, well, how many games did we play where if we were to have got that second goal or that third goal, we wouldn't have even had to put ourselves in a situation where we would leave ourselves liable defensively. A lot of these games were really close games where maybe we're pushing for a goal, they end up scoring one. We're pushing again, they end up scoring another one. All of a sudden we conceded 3 goals, but if you look at the game, it was 1-1 to the 70th minute or whatever the case is. We're liable because we're pushing so many numbers forward. It wasn't because, and at the end of the day, if you have 5 players running at 4 players, they have the better odds, right? So you can bring it down to as simple as that. But I do think that there can be a bigger and better emphasis on the defense. And again, I am a defender, and I truly believe that the defenders get criticized, probably the most in this league and in any league. So anytime a goal is scored, or anytime generally it's not all 11 players on the field. It's the back 4 or the back 3, whoever's in that area, sort of thing. But again, if you score more goals than the other team, nobody's going to speak on the defense, right?
The other thing I've got to ask you about is the cramping. Obviously, it's been an issue this year. We spoke to Robbo about it, and he said it was a big worry to him because he didn't know when to do the subs and stuff. I know you've worked hard on it, and your girlfriend's a nutritionist or something, is that right?
Yes, dietitian.
Have you found a solution for it, or is that something you're going to work on now in this off-season to see just what's behind that?
Yeah, I think I'm going to continue to work at it. I think it's an ongoing process. There were a number of different theories thrown out there. One of them is I run what they call a toe runner. I run on my toes, so my calves are constantly. But in the same context, I've had that my whole life. I haven't changed the way I've ran, but I can't not think that there's a bit of a correlation between the surgery and the cramping. A lot of times it comes, majority of the time it comes on my right calf, which is, right knee was the surgery knee, and I had cramping growing up a little bit, but never to the extent of how bad it was this year. I do think it's also comfortability of in that game setting. I played 5 minutes prior to the knee. I played 5 minutes of MLS play. The first few games you're nervous, the crowd, getting more used to the atmosphere, and you saw towards the end of the year, 90 minutes away in LA, 90 minutes at home.
Yeah, last 2 games you went through 90.
Yeah, and a few games where I was, a couple minutes off, sort of thing, where depending on the tempo of the game, but the more I adapt, the more I try not to think about it, but in the same context, you believe me and anybody else who knows me will speak on it, that I have done absolutely everything in my power to try and nip it in the butt.
You look at the end of the season, 2 points away from the 6th place, 1 win really, and it's easy to pinpoint games, or you could have won that, you could have got a point here and here, but does that just add to the frustration that you were so close in the end?
A little bit. I also think that it shows that we didn't throw the towel in, even though we needed to overcome a 14 goal difference, or all these factors were we still went out and we put out a performance. We go away to LAFC, who I think is one of the best teams in the league, get a 2-2 draw when we're down 2-0 after 10 minutes. We could have crumbled. Most teams would have crumbled. We fight back. Portland, who's a great team at home, we get a good result. We go away to Toronto, we win. A number of things where I show that the team showed a lot of character and a lot of grit to get those results. And like you said, there's so many games even on the top of my head that I can list that a team scored in the last minute to get a draw. We missed a chance in the dying minutes, and they scored. But there's no point in dwelling on it now. I thought we ended the year on a high, and at the end of the day, I think that's all that really matters. Hopefully, the fans continue to support us because it's our job and we play for them.
Just the last thing, after the Toronto game, you flew back to Saskatchewan to do the presentations at the Nationals. Seeing the crowds out there and knowing that the CPL's come in and Saskatchewan doesn't have a team yet, what's your hopes for the future of the game in Saskatchewan?
I know that it's been growing every time I go back and every time I speak to people from back home. It's been growing exponentially in the last couple of years, and I think that the CPL is an awesome stepping stone because, again, I always speak about when I was growing up. I didn't really have that. I hit the university. I played 3-4 years there, and then I kind of hit this roadblock where if I want to, I either quit playing soccer and pursue school and a career, or do I? What do I do now? I eventually had to move out west and go a bit of an unconventional route, but the CPL is another stepping stone, especially now that they're announcing that through the CIS you can get drafted and you can also keep eligibility, and there's a number of different things, and hopefully the more the CPL gets linked with CONCACAF and the MLS, I think it's just going to continue to build the hype around soccer, and the biggest thing I think is it has to survive the first few years, and I think that's going to be the most difficult part. But I think if it does, I think it can be successful.
Great, thanks so much for your time, and looking forward to seeing you next year, Brett.
Thank you.
Cheers, man.
When the world goes apart, something's starting place. Levi stops, tears run down his face.
Brett Levi's there. It's been great to see him finish the season as a starter.
Yeah.
It felt like such an important year for him.
It was great to see him go 90 minutes in that final game too.
I mean, yes, as he talked about, he's managed to go the last couple of games with going the 90 minutes. It's something that they are going to continue to work on in the off season and hopefully somehow get to the bottom of it, but obviously easier said than done.
I think maybe he just needs to get, because that was a horrific knee injury he had suffered. Maybe he just needs to get stronger in that area.
Said, that a lot of the time when you're coming back from that, it just leads to these other
things.
Because
So, you're overcompensating.
Yeah, so good luck to him. It's hard to know, as we talked about, where the next round of Canadian talent might come from. Thomas Hassel does seem like a good guy. Jose Hernandez on top of the other guys.
That
3 Whitecaps players, though, started today for Canada against both St Kitts and Nevis, so they're going to be tired.
We got 6 points today.
Minutes.
Shouldn't we got 6 points?
And 3 former Whitecaps were on the bench for the game.
Yes. Narrow 1-0 win, at least on paper it seemed narrow. From reading some tweets, it seemed a commanding performance. I didn't see it.
I saw bits of it while I was doing other stuff. I was preparing for the show and everything. Otherwise, it wasn't for the show. I would have watched the whole game.
I had it on.
You're turning me on Canadian.
I had it on, but was also multitasking a bit. It was.
No one cares about this Nations League.
No.
It's when it's on. If it's not on big screen TV, it's hard to get.
It's not on TV.
It's hard for me to get a laptop, and then I would be paying more attention to it if it was TV.
Yeah, so I had it next to the TV.
I'm an old generation
guy. Being used. So it was commanding. I don't know if it's called commanding. They did not.
The closing minutes seemed like
they were going for a second,
Davies
third goal.
Seemed to be running riot from the tweets.
Yeah. He had a nice chance that he created for himself at the end, but near the end.
And they hit a bar too somewhere. Somebody hit a bar.
Yeah, there was some.
Well, we should say the 3 Canadians were Tybert, Henry, and Fonzie.
Yeah,
right. One of the things, the possession. I was surprised at how they didn't covet possession very much. That was not super exciting.
St Kitts are really strong at home. I think that was their first game they've lost in 10 games or something.
Atiba Harris, it looked like Atiba Harris was playing center back, which is what he's been playing for OKC, to help them with size and strength. And I think
another Atiba, Hutchison got the only goal of the game a minute before
set
half
up by
time.
Russell. Yeah,
it was a good cross from Russell.
Yeah,
but it was extremely uncontested.
Yeah, very much.
Like he had all kinds of time to decide what he wanted to do.
Any worry that it was just a 1-0 win for you?
Nope. Because you got a lot of teams, like we said, the first 2 games were massive scoring. There were massive gaps between the 2 teams that were playing each other in almost every game that was played. It's all the games today, the biggest gap was 3 goals. And it didn't. Any of those games did not involve any of the top teams. So I think Canada is in second spot behind Haiti because of goal differential, obviously. Essentially, if they draw against, I think it's French Guiana in March, they're through. They're essentially through.
Yeah, they should be good to be in the Gold Cup, obviously.
Yeah.
So
and the top 6.
The top 6 is what makes the Gold Cup. And
they are. I think top 9.
Top 6 makes the Gold Cup.
Okay.
And just now, those top 6 are Haiti, Canada, Cuba, Jamaica, Curacao, and Bermuda.
Jamaica?
Went of their own accord.
Curacao, I don't think has played their 3rd game yet. I think they're playing the next couple games.
It might be tomorrow. The one thing that was like exciting for me in this game was, or like the overall, I wouldn't call it commanding. Might be too strong a word, but like. And it wasn't, to me, it wasn't dominant. But
it was comfortable? Were they comfortable?
At the end, it was a little bit, there was like, at the beginning and the end, St. Kitts created a little bit, or at least
They're
felt.
going forward,
Yeah, you felt a little bit concerned. But one of the things that I loved about the game was, other than I didn't like Alfonso, obviously, at left back. That's not ideal, but they're doing that because they want to have his attacking threat there. But one of the crazy thing is the 3 substitutions made.
Yeah.
You took off 3 really quality attacking players. But you brought on 3 really quality attacking players.
Well, you never had that before.
Yeah, it was crazy, right? So Cavallini started with Tabla on his left and Junior on his right.
Yeah.
And they were all replaced for Larin, Miller on the right, and Jonathan David on the left. So it was one of those weird feelings in this new era of Canadian football for the men's national team.
And Scott Arfield wasn't there either.
No Scott Arfield. That was the one thing.
Arfield?
The midfield comprised. So the midfield 3 comprised of Hutch, Rusty, and Piet.
Yeah, that was solid.
So it was 3 guys who almost like you could interchange in terms of their holding back and going forward. The last thing I'll say about the game is that Rusty was, from what I saw, I don't like the individual awards, but Rusty, you could probably easily give him the man of the match.
Yeah, and they got a clean sheet with Daniel Henry as in the back line.
When does that happen? And you are
so
right,
obviously Kendall Waston is the difference.
The top 10 make the Gold Cup. The top 6 go into the Nations League.
Yeah.
Final.
Obviously Kendall Waston, we'll mention him quickly. He got 2 goals against Chile. I think it was 3-2.
Yep. So he scored the first 2 corners. One was a kind of a second chance kind of thing. The second one was a near post header.
So Kendall Waston's still running that 2 goals against when he plays in games. It was awesome there. He
Ka-ching to the Whitecaps. And very quickly, just to round this section off, women's under 17s, 2-0 win against Colombia, 1-0 win against South Korea.
3-0, I thought it was Colombia.
It was 3-0. Yeah, they got a third.
I switched off.
All 3 came after the sending off.
Yeah.
Haitama scored a couple.
Both winners.
She got sent off as well.
It was not a sending off. Essentially, she went up for a header. She had her
for being tall.
One arm was being dragged by one of the defenders. I wouldn't even know who it was, and then the arm was up, her other arm was up, and the South Korean player ran into her elbow, essentially, because she was trying to head the ball as well. And that's essentially where it was a really dodgy.
Is there any chance it'll get overturned?
They might not even. They might want to arrest her. They have advanced. They're playing a group that anybody can advance. North Korea, U.S., Germany, Cameroon are in that group. So it's kind of the group of death. So anybody can advance there. So they could be playing a tough opponent either way.
Yeah. And
why
not
not rest
in the last group game?
Yeah, and
which
why not
their toughest game by far?
Yeah, and why not rest her there, and then she can be rested for the next round.
So we'll keep an eye on that. Bring you that next week, and we'll be back with more chat after this.
I'm David Edgar, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
So
Does nobody love the Hulk? I loved the TV show when I was a little boy growing up.
Oh, that was
Lou
fun.
Ferrigno?
Yeah.
I enjoyed the cartoon. Of course, like I said, I'm a Marvel guy, so I love the cartoon, even though it was horrible. It was just like pictures of the Hulk from the comic book, and he was just moving his mouth in or whatever.
I don't want to assume. Who is the person on the far left as I'm looking on your shirt?
This one?
Yeah.
That's Wasp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, the mask kind of threw me
White
off.
Anglo-Saxon.
It's original Wasp mask.
Oh, that's cool.
So
He's got left to right. He's got Wasp, Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, and Spider-Man. And it says "Legends Unite."
Great for the radio.
Yeah.
we'll take a photo.
We used to take photos of
it. We used to.
That was your job, but you keep up on it.
That was the traits there with Nobody Loves the Hulk, which, bit of speculation that was the first ever song written about superheroes.
No, I don't think it's superheroes because I'm sure.
Or just Marvel.
I'm 100% sure
superheroes.
there's tons of Superman songs.
Ah.
So I guarantee somebody wrote a Superman song, but it was just a person who grew up as a fan of the Hulk. I don't remember their name, but they wrote this and they gave the thing to the traits to record.
1969 that came out. We're going a little bit further forward now to 1995 because it's wavelength time. And we're going to play a band which we've featured a few times before, Halftime Oranges. And this is from their Rotterdam Nation album. And this month, don't know if anyone's noticed, but we're having a theme. It's not Soccer Violence Awareness Month, although that's coming up again soon. Amazing how time flies. We've got a theme of songs about footballers. Next week I've got a Norwegian rap. But tonight it's Halftime Oranges with a song about Wimbledon legend and notorious ball grabber, Vinnie Jones.
Billy Barnes, he likes to read Thomas Hardy. Vinnie Jones has shared a bed with Linda Lasardi. He celebrates by having a drink or two, drops his pants and gets a new tattoo. Skinhead over there. What's it like to have no hair? And Gasser shed a tear when he passed him by. Vinnie grabbed him by the balls and made him cry. He celebrates by having a drink or two, drops his pants and gets a new tattoo. Skinhead over there. What's it like to have no hair? Ask Vinnie Jones. Ask Vinnie Jones. Ask Vinnie Jones.
Halftime Oranges there with Vinnie Jones. Played that because the lyrics Skinhead over there. Had my head shaved tonight, so I thought that was very apt to play that song.
I remember skinhead means something different in England.
This means you've got no hair.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's different here.
There's different kinds of skinheads. I've explained that to you before.
No, I feel like we need to just remind people, because somebody might be tuning in for the first time.
There's a really good BBC documentary about the history of skinhead music, and it kind of shows all the different factions of it, so I recommend seeing that. But now, it's time for BC Soccer Web Headlines. BC Soccer Web Headlines, brought to you in partnership with bcsoccerweb.com, your one-stop site for local, national and international news, stories, links and a lot more. Make it part of your daily routine, morning and night. Check out bcsoccerweb.com. You won't regret it. So, what's been catching those beautiful, beautiful green eyes?
It changes colour every week.
I know.
The Hulk.
Hold on.
Oh, okay, let's wait for Michael to sit down there.
Okay.
Time to get comfy.
Okay.
Oh, man, I'm old.
So Liverpool's Daniel Sturridge is in a bit of trouble
Again?
with apparently betting. He's been.
What's he betting on?
Well, he's alleged to have broken 2 rules. First one is betting on matches or any football matter, like, not just the matches, but like maybe like, for example, the pie.
Yeah, is the keeper gonna eat the pie?
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's also been in breach of providing info to another person for purposes of betting. Back in April, Joey Barton, as we talked about, I think at that time, was banned 18 months for 11 years of betting, including games he played in. So that was 18 months. So you got to expect it not to be that bad, but if he gets proven, he has, I think, till end of November to respond to the charges.
The thing is, like years ago, players would bet all the time. And I'd be in the bookmakers before a game, and you'd see these 5 players in there in their suits and everything, getting their bets on and then going to get ready for the game. It's just that's just what players did. But obviously with all the international match fixing allegations and stuff, it's a lot different.
It looks bad when players are doing it openly. Next bit of news, obviously Brexit looks like it's happening. It's getting closer and closer. The English FA plan to limit overseas players due to Brexit. They will look to limit the players for each club about to 12 international players. That's going to be a big problem for the bigger teams, essentially.
Yeah, I like that though.
I think they were mentioning in the article that Chelsea and Arsenal recently played, and there was only one that started that was English.
Yeah, the thing with Brexit, I think that should mean England get kicked out of the Euros.
I don't think that's.
It's
still on the continent.
I know, although there's a lot of teams that kind of have got kicked out of European competition. I believe this week.
Quite a few.
Yeah. How's your man Shaft doing there, Zach?
What do you
relegated?
Hey,
relegation. You love relegation.
I'm always interested in your man Shaft.
Yeah, thanks. I saw that tweet. I chose to ignore it.
I noticed that.
Yeah, they beat Russia for fun, 3-0.
And then,
young team, different looking team.
Did you not go down with St. Martin's? You're going down with St. Martin's.
Hey,
Scotland will be playing you next year.
Yeah,
we're promoted.
They like to be the first at things. So first in being relegated in this whatever this is.
Well, I think it's
and so they can be the first to be promoted, maybe, or the second to be promoted, first to be relegated and promoted.
If we beat Israel.
I think somebody was saying that it's not that big of a deal. It's not like the end of the world or something like that.
No, they get to play Scotland.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I think in Europe, very much the sense is people don't really care about this. This is just they're trying to
glorified friendly now.
Yeah, these are friendlies that they're trying to give meaning to, and so yeah. The biggest thing for the DFB for the Die Mannschaft, as you like to say, Michael, is
I don't like to say that. That's what they keep tweeting out.
Actually, there has been a big kind of, let's not call the team that. Anyway, back to the whole Mesut Ozil.
What does it mean? Because someone was asking me about it.
It just means like the team, like the
our team, my team,
like the Rock.
No.
Also, it wasn't a good week for Germany on 2 other fronts. Canada beat Germany in another sport, rugby qualifications for their World Cup. And
sorry, in Germany, no one cares about egg chasing whatsoever.
And then also, I think Cameroon beat Germany U17, so that wasn't a great week. Moving on. Next story we got here. EPL is going to be introducing VAR next season. It's been approved by the 20 clubs. It's got to be obviously, I guess, approved by the FA.
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the first error, and then the commentators and the media there is just going to have a field day with it.
Well, remember they did do a trial run where it didn't affect the games itself. They pretended like they were doing it.
They also did it in the FA Cup last year, and there was like the Tottenham game was an absolute disaster.
I think if they do it like the World Cup did it, I think it can work.
Yeah, I'm
the World Cup. The World Cup, except for like 1 or 2 mistakes, it was pretty flawless at that point.
They need to let the commentators know what's going on because they were absolutely clueless. It was embarrassing.
Clueless where?
Like the English commentators, they didn't know what was going on and everything.
But they
need a reporter embedded with the replay people.
Yeah. The World Cup, it was good.
Yeah, it was.
No. What he's saying is the commentators.
The
commentators
games.
The commentators of the World Cup knew what was going on.
No, but in the FA Cup last
year.
FA Cup.
Yeah. Those games.
I thought you meant the World Cup.
No, the World Cup, it was amazing. It was such a step up from MLS.
I mean, that was great.
One referee who will not be reffing any matches for the next 3 weeks is David McNamara. He got suspended for playing rock, paper, scissors.
Yeah, I thought this was dreadful. It's a bit of fun.
Essentially, he forgot his coin in the locker room.
Yeah.
And instead of going to retrieve their coin and do the proper, he got the players in a women's league match to do rock, paper, scissors. Essentially, the Football Association said he accepted a charge of not acting in the best interest of the game. The funniest line was the women's referee manager, Joanna Stimpson, told the Times that the McNamara's mistake was a moment of madness. I don't know if that's just a term people like using there, or it was actually...
Yeah, but I mean, to leave a coin in the locker room, I don't see any harm in doing that.
Well, it lacks a little bit of professionalism.
Well,
but,
but if you can't toss yourself off, what would you do?
I think it was reasonable in terms of playing rock, paper, scissors. I think that was a reasonable way to...
A bit of fun. I would have laughed about it and get on with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine that there was like a Champions League game?
No, that wouldn't happen. I guarantee you that.
They'll
delay it.
No, but I don't know. I could see...
If it's a league match,
it's a game of chance.
It
Same
is
with flipping a coin.
I bet you the girls enjoyed playing it. Was a women's match.
Why do you think they enjoyed the fun? You mean
playing rock, paper, scissors?
Yeah, they're just regular girls.
North American soccer news: involving a couple of former Whitecaps coaches.
Yes.
Martin Rennie signs a new contract with the Indy 11.
Has Philip Dos Santos signed a new contract with them? Dun, dun, dun. No is the answer. He's coming here.
Happy for Martin.
He signed just this past January. Led the team to 7th spot in the playoffs. It sounds like it's a 1-year deal because they didn't mention it's a multi-year deal. The owner said, we're happy to have Martin Rennie back for 2019.
Brad Grusin and June Marcus Davidson must be cock-a-hoop.
Yeah. He broke the team record with 5 road victories, and he actually tied the record with 11 clean sheets this year. And they're not ultra clean sheets; they're actual clean sheets. Cincinnati's Alan Koch named Coach of the Year. USL
Coach of the Year
received 43% of the vote. Is 77 points and 23 victories. Set both set USL records for regular seasons, and he also led the league in regular season for 72 goals. So good! Congratulations, Alan. Obviously, friend of the show. This is some Canadian news. The big one, I thought, pretty big, is Canadian Premier League acquires League One Ontario. It started with a talk of just affiliation, but over a year turned into an actual purchase. A couple of quotes here from David Clanahan. Said, one of the key tenets of the CPL is to develop key soccer players. We're committing to developing talent, and we think this helps us. Dino Rossi, who's the commissioner of League One and helped bring it along, essentially said that bringing League One Ontario under the wing of the Canadian Premier League and serving as the CPL's official development league, which some people might take offense to because it's Ontario, is a massive opportunity for our league. Some players that came out of there are Kyle Larin, Raheem Edwards.
Who's been mentioned as a possible Whitecap acquisition.
Raheem Edwards, another we talked about before. Richie Laria, who's in Orlando, Kwame Wahoo in New York City FC, and Mark Anthony Kay, who we talked about earlier. Yeah. What do you guys think about that acquisition?
I think it's a great acquisition. That league has done a lot of good work out in Ontario, and Dino Rossi works so hard in the game out there. He's like an awesome guy.
Yeah.
It kind of far down the road, it opens up possible pro rel.
Yeah.
Way down the line,
but you have to develop it across.
And the problem in BC, we've tried to have a tier 3 league like that, and they put it out, and they had 2 teams interested in doing it because there was some stupid conditions that went with it. But
were those conditions different than League One Ontario, though?
Probably not. It was all like you had to play in stadiums with minimum capacities and stuff like that. The problem here is the Fraser Valley League, the VMSL, and the Vancouver Island Soccer League. They've all got their own self-interest, understandably, and a lot of the guys don't want to travel, so that if you have a proper BC league, guys from Surrey don't want to be travelling over for a game in the weekend in Victoria. But if you want to ever grow the game, you do need a BC league. You've already got the Quebec League. You need maybe an Alberta, Saskatchewan, stuff like that, and have a proper developmental league, which could possibly lead to pro rel. or at least it would give you a player pool to pick from, which of course the CPL draft has done as well. Which is
we'll talk about that next. Essentially, right there we talk about. Oh, did you want to talk about the?
No, I just want to say I think this is a positive move for the Canadian Premier League. The one thing is that it's talked about. This is going to be League One Ontario is going to be their development league.
Yeah,
but they haven't clarified what that means.
Yes.
Yeah,
and so
what I would like for it to happen. Dino Rossi, I would like his actually role to be expanded, where he can help and develop this kind of league across the country.
Yes.
Maybe do.
We should get Dino in the show. Actually,
we should. Maybe they could do a Prairies developmental league, do a BC one, Quebec, and Maritime. So you have 4 different league development.
So I've heard him speak a little bit about this already, and he was kind of asked that, like, what does this hold? Could this be the very thing you just said, Steve? Could that be your future? And he's like, I haven't talked to my new bosses about that yet, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, I think he would be great.
We talk about the CPL chat. Obviously, Thomas Gardner went first to Pacific FC.
Yes. Number one pick overall was the guy I tipped to be number 1 pick, Gabriel Bitar from Carleton.
The goal scorer?
University.
He dominated. Who team did he go to?
Carleton Ravens. He went to Tommy Wheeldon's Cavalry FC.
Oh, they're going to be a strong team next year.
Yes. Now, an interesting thing about the draft is I spoke to a few coaches on the Sunday, and there was a gentleman's agreement that they would pick local players to their market.
Yeah.
Tommy then has the first pick overall and picks an Ontario guy. He's Ottawa from
Carleton. Gotcha.
So that put the cat amongst the pigeons a little bit from what I've been told. It ruffled a few feathers. But Bitar was the number 1 player by a mile, so he was quite right to pick that.
Yeah.
There was other guys. A lot of the draft was local. And I'm not saying it was rigged, but this gentleman's agreement was we'll pick local players. So Pacific got 3 UBC Thunderbirds.
Exactly. And then I know another one, FC Edmonton, basically took 3 University of Alberta players
Alberta guys
who were part of their residency squad before. So, yeah.
So there's no official protected players or protected areas, but unofficially there's been a lot of talk behind the scenes.
I think
for example, Cape Breton Capers, a lot of that team weren't drafted.
Yeah.
A lot were. Well, 4 were, I think. But those other guys are expected to play for Halifax from this gentleman's agreement.
Yeah, the thing is I think what it is if it's like a player that's similar kind of level, then you make that gentleman's agreement that you're going to pick local. But that player that you're talking about,
Bitar
was heads above beyond everybody else.
Yes.
You can't make a gentleman's agreement on that.
No.
You got to take the best player.
Tommy would have been foolish to not pick him and let him go to one of the Ontario teams.
It would have made him look foolish.
Yes.
Then don't give him the first pick and make sure do the gentleman's agreement that somebody else is going to get the first pick.
There were some other big name players that didn't go, and you kind of know that it's because
they were going to go anyways.
Yeah. Like Alberta's top scorer, Ajit Sakaria.
Yeah.
Not picked at all. Did play in the past for Calgary Foothills, so you'd expect
He's going
to see
to Calgary.
him in Calgary.
They're going to have a really strong team there.
Yeah, that's who they get your money on. They're going to win that first year.
Well, they have some pretty interesting pricing that came out for their season tickets. Yeah.
Interested in seeing the Pacific one, because Pacific's a market I do have my worries about, I've got to say, as to what they can draw.
One player who might wasn't part of the draft because obviously he plays for SFU, but he might be part of the CPL in the upcoming years.
Yep. But he's in a different player pool. All the SFU guys are in a different player pool.
Well, Matteo Pelosi was named D2CCA West Regional Player of the Year. Well, that's a really mouthful there.
Yes.
So he basically finished the season leading the GNAC in points per match with 2.61, goals, points, shots on goal per match. He ranked 6th nationally in goals and points, and his 47 this season in points, which is goals and assists, ranked 7th highest in SFU history. He also was named to the first team with freshman midfielder Connor Glennon, another midfielder Mohamed Kamara, and senior defender Michael North. His brother Marcello and defender Jost Mangert were named to the second team.
So again, just for clarity, you said this once before on the show. You're saying he's better than Gignac. That's what you're saying?
No, I would never mention that.
I actually spoke to the police on Friday night at the Croatia Runas Tigers game, so I had a nice little chat with them. Mateo's had a great season. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't see time in the CPL this year. They do all fall into the separate player pool because of NCAA regulations.
Yeah. They can't be paid a regular salary or anything like that.
There's some other stuff going on just now around about VMSL and SFU, which I won't go into just now. It might be something we cover next week. It's a kind of developing issue, a very interesting one. So we'll come back to that.
Cool. Last story here. Congratulations to Tony Waiters, who talked to AFTN this
Finally.
I can't believe it took this
I
long.
know.
It's weird.
Apparently he has to be nominated, and no one had nominated him. Maybe everyone just assumed he was in it, like I did.
Yeah.
That's wacky.
Yeah.
Yeah, they re-signed Breck Shea, but they couldn't nominate Tony Waiters. He will be inducted into the BC Sports Hall of Fame this upcoming year. Obviously, 40th anniversary since they won the 79 Soccer Bowl. Also led Canada to the 86 World Cup and the quarterfinals appearance in the 84 Olympics, which I think is their best ever appearance there.
Most storied Canadian national team coach.
For sure. And like I said, it should have happened a long time ago.
It's unbelievable, but yeah, you have to be nominated.
And he talked to AFTN, like you said, this
Yeah,
summer.
that was a really good chat with him. We wanted to chat longer, but he had to get down on the pitch, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That is it for this episode of the show. Just before we go, let everyone know where they can find you online.
You can find me on Twitter at WhitecapsBeat.
For me, it is at Zachary AM, and I'm a part of the Movement Curve Collective.
I'm Michael McCall. You can find me on Twitter at AFTN Canada, on Instagram at AFTN Soccer, and new to our stuff, aftn.ca. Anyway, that is it for this week's episode of the show. Thank you for listening. Unbelievably, we've overrun. Stunned by that.
Well, we had to talk about those defenders and goalkeepers.
Yeah, I kind of went into that a bit in depth. The edit will be superb. But anyway, till next time, thanks for listening. Take care, and mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.